All right, welcome back to the party, everybody. I'm your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Hit that like and subscribe. You know I would do it for you, and let's party. Big shout out to the replay gang. Thank you so much for coming back to watch this, even though you missed the live party, guys. That is the best part. So make sure you are here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. And sometimes whenever I feel like it, so hit that subscribe, ring that bell, and you will never miss an Indian Jesus live party ever again. Let's also say thank you to my6shirt.com. Whatever your persuasion, they've got something for you. And I think they have a new shirt coming out very soon. But the best one is the only place to get your very own, the Indian Jesus official merch. Only at my6shirt.com. All right. Welcome. We got Doodad, first one in the building. Welcome to the party. So as many of you know, Larry Elder was snubbed from the GOP debates. So there hasn't been too much going on with that. I haven't heard much from him or people talking about it too much. But I figured, I have this little video here of him responding, and then I think it's important that I kind of the GOP did their job. I kind of forgot about Larry Elder until some of you guys in the chat were bringing it up. So I figured let's go to the Breakfast Club interview or appearance or whatever you want to call it that he did, because I think that was really indicative of who Larry Elder really is. But before that, let's check out what he has to say here. Shout out to Daniel Cabrera. What is good? Welcome to the party. So this was from August 22nd. And he's talking, this was before, as you can see, the Larry Elder threatens to sue if they do not include him. Let's see it. As always, if you get any of the video, please do let me know.
All right, gang, here's the deal. As you know, I submitted 3 national polls as required, one of which was the Rasmussen poll. The RNC contacts me and says, I can't use Rasmussen because it is, quote, affiliated with the Trump campaign, close quote. I didn't know that. It's not affiliated with my campaign. Rasmussen says Trump did not pay for a poll, did not even suggest a poll, and that they have no business not using Rasmussen to be one of the polls that Elder submits.
Now, already, that is ridiculous. That is so ridiculous because that is one of the biggest names in polling. Rasmussen is between Rasmussen and Pugh. Like, I don't know what would be bigger.
Also, after we found out they weren't going to accept Rasmussen, we submitted another poll where I'm over 1%. We didn't submit it until after the deadline because we didn't know that Rasmussen was going to be rejected. And the poll didn't publish its results until after the deadline. But they finished their polling before the deadline. So
we see that already, as if we didn't expect it. But even within the GOP, there is effery. Too early to curse yet, but effery afoot. And it's not just the liberals that kind of are playing dirty games, right?
So 3 national polls have been submitted. Even if you exclude Rasmussen, there's no reason why we shouldn't be up there on that debate stage. Mm-hmm. Also, regarding Rasmussen, if you look at the Twitter feed of the RNC, they quote Rasmussen all the time. All of a sudden now, Rasmussen is tainted because it's affiliated with Trump. This is bull. If I'm not up there on that debate stage, I will see them in court. We're going to file an injunction. I will be there. I'm already here in Milwaukee. Out.
Ooh. So if you remember, he actually did also, put out like I don't know if it was like just a short or something, but from his phone when he was in the Milwaukee airport before he actually found out that he wasn't going to be on the stage. So that was really messed up. Shout out to Melted Mind Media. Welcome to the party. Good to see you, brother. Another awesome YouTuber. Drop the channel to his link in the chat. Please go check him out. So this interview is from not quite 2 weeks ago. And obviously, again, the being snubbed at the debates was the big thing. But I still think this is a really important conversation to have, and especially because it wasn't until you guys really brought up that Larry Elder was an option in all this. We were talking when we were doing the Trump on Tucker. We were talking about all these different people and different options. And I just forgot. So the GOP did exactly what they wanted to do. But if you can have more like this, then the tables could turn. So we do have our poll up running now. We are asking, should Larry Elder be the VP? Just yes or no. Should he be the VP? Replay gang, let me know in the comments below. All right. Let's do it.
Wake that ass up early in the morning. The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ NV, Charlamagne Tha God. We are the Breakfast Club. We have Teslin Figueroa with us, and we got a special guest in the building, 2024 Republican presidential candidate, Larry Elder. Welcome, brother.
Thank you so much for having me. It is an honor.
How you feeling?
So good.
He does more than that, though. I mean, he was a radio host.
Radio host for 40 years.
Author, TV host.
Author,
New York
host.
Times best-selling list. Got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. I think as we go through this, and as we're I'm talking with you guys, I think there's a lot I'm going to learn about Larry Elder, because as far as he's been around, but I haven't really focused on anything, heard anything, really even listened to anything that he's talked about until the whole white. I think it was the Atlantic that had that article that said he's the new black face of white supremacy. But other than that, I don't really know him that well. Welcome to the party, Daniel Cabrera. Welcome. I don't remember if I already said that, but 2 welcomes. You deserve it, brother. Welcome.
Corner of Hollywood and Vine, southeast corner, just saying.
Okay.
I know he had a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Yeah,
man.
yeah, about a handful of radio guys do, and I'm one of them.
Yeah, I think it's you, Elvis Duran,
Angie
Howard
Martinez.
Stern,
Yeah.
Big Boy. Oh,
Angie
Martinez.
A guy named Arthur Godfrey.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's jump right into it. Why are you running for president?
There you go.
Well, I'm running as an America First mega guy, and we have an America First mega guy running, obviously. So the question is, what do you bring to the table?
You said MAGA.
MAGA.
Okay.
And the answer
And they're like, MAGA? What is this thing that you speak of? MAGA?
is I bring a lot of issues to the table that I feel our side is not talking enough about, if at all. For example, the number one social problem in America by far is the epidemic, not of COVID, but of fatherlessness. 70% of Black kids today enter the world without a father in the home, married to the mother, up from 25% back in 1965. Now, 25% of white kids enter the world today without a father in the home, married to the mother. And the stats are clear. Even Barack Obama once cited them. If you're raised without a dad, you're 5 times more likely to be poor and commit crime, 9 times more likely to drop out of school, and 20 times more likely to end up in jail.
And we know this. But saying this on the Breakfast Club is, maybe not going to be taken as easily as it would in more conservative circles. Shout out to Trad Guy Travels. Welcome to the party. Yet another awesome YouTuber. Just dropped the link to his channel. Definitely go check him out. So I thought he said, mind blown laughing? What? I missed it. But welcome.
What's happened? In the mid-'60s, with I think the best of intentions, a Democrat named Lyndon Johnson launched what he called the War on Poverty. And since then, we have incentivized women to marry the government and incentivize men to abandon their financial and moral responsibility. When I say this to people, the pushback I get is, well, there are lots of things that are going on, systemic racism, poverty. Here's the problem. If you look at a young Black male aged 10 to 43, that's young to me because I'm 71 years old. A young Black man in that demo is 13 times more likely to be murdered than a young white man, same demo. Young Black man, real young, 19 and under, the number one cause of preventable death is homicide, almost always at the hands of another young Black male. Same demo for whites, the number one cause of preventable death is unintentional deaths. That includes drug overdoses, automobile accidents, drownings. It's not until they get to number 4 that death is the cause.
And again, I want to make sure that we are, looking at this through the lens that I want to be looking at. It's again, when we watch these things, it's not just, let's just sit and enjoy whatever is going on here. Like, yes, let's do that. But we also want to think about what are the broader implications. Now that, after this conversation, he was snubbed at the debates. We just watched a video saying that he's going to sue the GOP. So we want to keep that in mind. as we're watching this and understand, okay, what is exactly his platform? What is he running on? Put all of that together and then think about, okay, what is it going to need? What is he going to need to do to say, to have any stake in this race? Daniel says that word the Nigerian said to Jesse Smollett, this is mug country. Oh my God. Yeah. And if you don't know, Jesse on Fire, also a good friend of the channel, it does a podcast with those Nigerians. They're actual real competing fighters. And I have yet to check it out, but I hear it's really good. And we should definitely check that out as well. But yeah, MAGA. Unwanted foe. Welcome to the party. Good to see you, brother. Said Charlamagne is really bad at being a serious interviewer. He does almost no research. And I mean, I don't watch him that regularly. So I'm gonna have to go with you and look out for this as we are watching. And I feel like every time I hear something going on with the Breakfast Club, going on with Charlamagne, it's very black centric. And that's fine. I don't have anything wrong with that, but there's nothing wrong with that. But I just don't feel any value from most of the conversations that I see people, talking about, much less the ones that people are not talking about. So I'm gonna leave that to you and look out for that.
In America, 60% of the shootings, the robberies, and the homicides are committed by Black people, often against other Black people. Of the homicides in this country, half of them are Black victims, almost all killed by other Blacks. How do you explain that if it isn't for the absence of fathers? Are you prepared to say,
racism? That's racism.
Black people are just genetically inclined to commit more crime? I doubt it. And the go-to reaction often is poverty and systemic racism. Here's the problem. 1940, when there was blatant racism. This is before Brown versus Board of Education, before the Civil Rights Act of 64. KKK was still alive and well. 87% of Blacks lived under the poverty line. Now,
and again, guys, I know this is not new information to you. I know that you guys are well versed in these types of things and know the stupid talking points and the actual. Morty, you gotta sit comfy. I'm like off kilter trying to get Morty to be sitting comfortable here. But I know you guys know this. But what we're looking for is the reception. How are the people? Because the reception of the people in that room is going to echo the reception of the people who are listening to this. Because this isn't, this isn't on Fox News. This isn't on CNN. This is on BET. This is on, Black radio, all that kind of stuff. So it's gonna be different somehow. Melton Mind Media said, remember Andrew Schultz had a pod with Charlamagne's a brilliant idiot. Yes. He said that was so good. I never really watched that one either, but I'm a big fan of Flagrant. I love Andrew Schultz. Trad God Travels said, isn't the KKK still alive and well today? They are still alive. I don't know how well they're doing. I think membership is probably down, but I believe, yes, they are still alive and not so well.
Now it's about 14%. You can't blame it on poverty. You can't blame it on racism. It is the breakdown of the nuclear intact family, and neither side is talking about it. The left doesn't talk about it.
Wait a minute. What do you mean neither side is talking about it? The cultural right is all about that. So again, now I'm thinking, do you actually think that? Or are you saying that because you're reading the room and you know your audience? And you're not trying to say, well, you guys don't talk about that. It's it's us over here on the Republican side that are talking about it. This is the way you got to listen to these things. Let's back that up and see what do you think?
KKK was still alive and well. 87% of Blacks lived under the poverty line. Now it's about 14%. You can't blame it on poverty. You can't blame it on racism. It is the breakdown of the nuclear intact family, and neither side is talking about it. The left doesn't talk about it because they caused it with the welfare state. And our side does not talk about it because if you're white, you'll be accused of dissing single moms who are heroically raising these kids, or you'll be accused of being a racist, or if you're Black, you'll be accused, as I was by the LA Times, of being the black face of white supremacy.
Yep, and there it is, the black face of white supremacy. And that affords me a little bit of, dare I say, privilege by not being white and not being black. I don't have any allegiances to, the black community and the black struggle and the black thing. But I also don't have the automatic, you can't just throw racist at me because I'm not white. I'm, my parents weren't even in this country before, 1980. So I get a little bit of privilege there when it comes to poking at these ideas. In the same way he does by being black, he can skirt the racism. But like he said, they call him the blackface of white supremacy and Uncle Tom, all these nasty things. Shout out to Nick. Welcome to the party, brother. Good to see ya. So you're all happy. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. You too, sir. Welcome.
Nobody's talking about that. I am.
What are the reasons, if your statistics are right, what are the reasons that you think fathers aren't in the home?
As I said, it's because
Welfare.
In the mid-'60s, Lyndon Johnson launched what he
No
called
fault
the War on
divorce.
Poverty. And Charlamagne, literally, they sent social workers door to door in the inner city. I remember this, advising women of the availability of welfare provided there was no man in the house. It created an economic incentive for women to marry the government. Same thing with whites. In 1965, 8% of whites entered the world without a father in the home married to the mother. Now it's about 25%, also up threefold. Look at census data, 1910, 1920, 1930, in places like Milwaukee, Chicago, Philadelphia. A young black kid was slightly more likely to be brought into a world with a father in the home married to the mother than a young white kid. We have incentivized this kind of bad behavior, and it's had a disproportionately bad effect on the black community.
And that's another point when people talk about this stuff and how after slavery, after Jim Crow, that culturally, the black community was doing a lot better in comparison to the white community, if you want to put it like that. Comparatively, the difference is, again, I'm talking culturally, we're much smaller. And now, because of all this stuff that he's talking about, the race relations have gone further and further and further and further apart when it should be going in the opposite direction. But I want to see how they answer for all this.
Let me ask you a question. What do white people do wrong, Larry Elder?
What do you mean?
Everything.
What do white people do? I'm not worried about white people. I'm worried about what's going on with us.
But if there's systemic racism in this country, which we know it is.
No, I don't say there is. You say there is. I don't believe that.
Oh, you don't believe there's
No, there used to
racism?
be, obviously. Tell me what you think the number one systemic example of systemic racism is in America.
Yeah, so Melton My Media said they're in jail or don't want to raise their children. This is a father problem, not a race problem. And so, I mean, maybe a little bit crudely put, but honestly, is he wrong? It has nothing to do with race. It may be more often, you may see it more often per capita in the black community, but that has other economic factors that we're talking about and that he's about to go into. This is a father problem. Well said, sir. Well said. So yeah, he was asking, Larry said, what do you think is the number one example of systemic racism? Actually, no, did anybody get a twofer? A long one yet? There we go. Okay. I get a little OCD about my captions there.
Oh man, there's so many.
Just give me the most important one you think.
At the top of mind, I'll probably maybe mass incarceration. Maybe.
Really?
Okay, that's not a terrible answer. I don't believe in this overarching systemic racism. I do believe that there are systemic injustices that affect different races in different ways, sure. But and mass incarceration is definitely one of them. I don't think that I would say all the causes are the same that Charlamagne would say, but I'm not mad at that at all.
During the Great Depression, when 50% of black adults were unemployed, you didn't have this kind of mass incarceration. It's the breakdown of the family.
I'm not going to. I agree with the family part. I'm a black man who is a father to his children, and I'm a happily married black man to a black woman. So I'm never going.
Yeah, and to be again, I want to be fair. I'm just calling this conversation as a conversation, looking at the others. I'm not taking sides, or I might take sides, but right now I'm just trying to be. Well, I'm always trying to be fair. And the question was, what do you think is the biggest systemic problem? And he said mass incarceration. And Larry Elder brings that, well, that's because of the family. And he didn't say that it wasn't because of the family. That wasn't what the question was. Nick says, I can't complain, man. Could be better, but a lot worse. So I'm going with half glass full. Love it, brother. Love it. That is what we all need to do. Oh, my goodness. Shout out to Unwanted Foe. Stop. Puppy time. That's right. Every single super chat comes with a treat for Morty. As long as he will eat it and not be too scared. Eat it, bro. No, too scared. But it is here waiting for him as soon as he stops shivering in fear of the great unknown chihuahuas. Am I right? But thank you. And of course, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream.
I'm gonna argue with that part, you know, but I just feel like everything is black with you. Black is wrong. Black people do this and black people do that. And when I ask you what white people do wrong, you said you're not worried about white people at all.
I'm talking about the damage, disproportionate damage going on in the black community. For example, look at these smash and grabs that are taking place in Los Angeles, where I live. There's a suburb called Glendale, where at a mall recently, a mob of 30 to 40 people, they had masks on, but one guy got popped. He was black. I think most of those who were doing this were black. And in recent years and times, there have been a number of these in places like Chicago, places like New York. If I were involved in something like that, Charlamagne, I grew up with a dad, just as you're raising your own children. I would have been more afraid of my father than I would about the cops catching me. These kids are afraid of neither. They don't have a father in the home. Cops are demoralized. They're pulling back. Their manpower is short. And as a result, you tell a bad guy you're less likely to be caught, convicted, incarcerated, crime goes up. They may be criminals, but they're not stupid. When you say, what do white people do? I mean, this is a country that has struggled mightily to get over its historic racism. There was a civil war. There was a big civil rights movement. This is the only majority white country that's ever elected a black president, let alone reelected a black president. The three biggest cities in America are New York, Chicago, LA. They all have black mayors, even though no city has a majority of black population. The president of Harvard is a black female. Martin Luther King in 1966, Charlamagne, gave an interview to the BBC. This is 2 years after the Civil Rights Act of 64 got passed. And he said, I'm amazed at how many positive changes there have been in America in the last 2 years. Why, if things keep going like this, we could have a black president in about 40 years' time.
40
Do the math.
years.
Right on cue, Barack Obama, elected 2008. He didn't say there'll be a black female president of Harvard, and there has been. He didn't say there are going to be black CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, and there have been several. He didn't say the percentage of the House would equal the percentage of black people in the population, and it does. He didn't say the three largest cities would have black mayors, and they do. He didn't say the largest and most prestigious organization of doctors, the American Medical Association, would have 2 black presidents, and there have been. He didn't say the most prestigious organization of lawyers, the American Bar Association, would have 2 black presidents, and they have. He said president, meaning at that point, I can feel that I've reached the mountaintop, which is the speech he gave right before he got assassinated the day before. And now we act as if Barack Obama never even got elected. And we're still talking about systemic racism. It's not fair. It's wrong. And you're discouraging black people from working hard. 1990.
Okay. Mr. Elder, quick question.
Oh, this lady. Shout out, Melty. Thank you very much. Oh, man. If you don't remember, this was the lady who, when she was talking to Vivek, was like, you haven't done anything. And he was like, yeah, I know. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Shout out to Ziggs. Welcome to the party. Good to see ya. Welcome. Unwanted Foe says her entire job on that show is to stir ish up. Clearly. And I mean, hey, if that's her job, she ain't doing too bad at it. If she's trying to have a good faith conversation, but if that's her job, keep her on.
Let's just remove the word racism, since that seems to be a word that triggers, a conversation down the water hole. Let's just focus on the word system.
Okay.
You mentioned that the system was the one that discouraged. And again, we have no problem with agreeing that the family, the black family, should certainly has some room for some improvement. But let's just focus on system.
Room for improvement?
System. Well, we're not going to go down that water. We're not going to go down that water hole. Let's get to the question. So the question is, you said that the system encouraged black women to be single mothers, correct?
I said the welfare state, yes.
The welfare, the system. So who's in charge of the system?
Try Guy Travel said he's telling too much truth against black people. She's having a stroke trying to respond and shut him up. She just wants him to shut up. Well said, sir.
Who was in charge of the system?
Well, it was Democrats that passed.
Oh, here we go. It's been white men. So because old men who are not alive today and barely have any connection to people who are alive today. None of those people who are alive today have any of that power. But the power that they had, because they had a certain skin color, well, you're racist. What? That's the, I already know that's the entire line she's going to go down. But so does Larry. So notice how he's already started talking about the Democrats. And I you guys know I like a fast talker. I didn't know he was this fast a talker. That'll get me to perk up.
Black women to be single mothers, correct?
I said the welfare state, yes.
The welfare, the system. So who's in charge of the system? Who was in charge of the system?
The
Well, it was
Democrats,
Democrats that passed it.
And who were Democrats? Were they black or white at that time?
Well, at the time, majority of black people were Democrats, as the majority of black people are Democrats now.
Not the voters. I'm talking about the system. Remember, the main idea is the word system. Who was in charge of the system at the time? The Democrats at the time.
Christians? Brown-haired people? Where are you getting at? It's just it's such a bare bottom type of argument. It's like, well, they were white and these people are white, so must be bad. That's the entire depth of the argument.
The system. I'm just going to Charlamagne's point about white or black. Was it white Democrats in charge of the system or black Democrats in charge of the system?
Well, if you're prepared to say that Lyndon Johnson did this viciously with an intent to destroy the black family, I disagree. He did it with the best of intentions. And if you look at the New York Times,
and she does that too. She doesn't let anybody speak. Really quick, let's give a shout out to anybody who is over on Kick. Shout out to you. Let me know you are here in the chat. Unfortunately, it won't let me pull up the comments, but I will copy and paste and make sure you are acknowledged because it's not a party without you.
Times, which is left wing, the Washington Post, which is left wing, they cheered all of this.
Right. And what I'm asking was it white people? So I'm going to ask again in case my mic's not coming through clearly.
Oh, no. The mic's coming through clearly. It's the message that's not coming through clearly. I only understand it because I can understand bullshit, as can Larry. The mic's working fine, baby girl.
Was it white people in charge of the system or black people in charge of that system that helped break down the black family? It's a simple yes, just a simple question, white or black?
Well, you didn't have to go on welfare unless you.
No. He should just say white, and make her do the intellectual work. Don't try. This is why, guys. Right now, Larry Elder is trying. I mean, of course, like Unwanted Foe said, this is her job, is to try to win arguments instead of have conversations. But Larry Elder, you are here to have a conversation and not try to win an argument. You're supposed to win an argument by virtue of having the better ideas through the conversation. You're jumping ahead of yourself, and it is already showing. You're getting all squirmy. And if Unwanted Foe knows that her entire job is to stir ish up, then you have to. Especially if you didn't, you already know what road she's going down. So cut her off. Say it was white people. And exactly. Daniel says the melanin deficient must be seen to be inferior or as primitive. Yeah, really. I mean, these people are obsessed with race. It's so weird. Melton Amita said this chick is so rude. Every time I have seen her interview one, she shows no respect. Yeah, well, that means she's doing her job, right? Zig says, I'm not clued up on this elder guy, but Charlamagne is annoying. He thinks he is the culture. Ooh. And yeah, that's that's really why I wanted to do this, even though this is from almost 2 weeks ago, this interview. It was you guys who were talking about Larry Elder, and I was like, damn, I really did forget about Larry Elder. Let's look into that. And so I'm right there with you, getting clued up on the spot. Nick says, I think sometimes we police our own race, such as I'm more likely to call out another white guy for something than someone of another race. I don't like seeing it all, but especially from whites. But again, why are you? I hear you. I'm not saying that you should be going out to, if you hear black people talking about, oh, the white man did this. I don't think it's a good idea to go over and be like, hey guys, reverse racism is actually racism. I hear what you're saying, but also, why are you feeling guilty for what other people are doing just because they have the same kind of skin tone as you? That is what they want. You didn't, and as long as you're not being racist, then you have nothing to feel bad about. End of story. Shout out to Doodad Attack. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Voluntarily chose to go on welfare. The inducement was put there by Democrats, by
White
the
Democrats,
left.
correct? Okay. White
Well,
Democrats, correct?
most black people were Democrats, and they voted for these white people
Not
too.
voters. I said, who's in charge of the
Who's in charge?
system?
Well, who puts
Who's in
who
charge?
puts them in charge?
Was Lyndon Johnson?
Exactly. You can make that argument, but you're dodging a very simple question. What color were the people in charge? They were white. And you don't even have to stop. They were white. But who voted those white people in? Then that's having the conversation, but also winning. You can't win without having the conversation. Shout out to Ayush Gupta. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Said so many race hustlers in the left media. I don't know how bad, didn't know how bad things were until I saw how brazenly media is misquoting and attacking Vivek. Yep. I mean, I mean, is there anything else to say about it? They just will go to no end. You always think that you're going to see like, all right. I mean, that was pretty bad, but like, all right, that's kind of probably as far as they can take it. And then, nope, they just take it one step further every single time. Amontefo said, remember, she started off this by basically saying, let's put aside racism. That is a good rhetorical trick.
Johnson, white or black?
Who puts him in
Maybe
charge?
that'll help you.
Fine. Lyndon Johnson was white.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's another good one, Melty. Exactly. When she said what race, he should have said human race. That you have to subvert these people because they have, if you go along with everything that, if you go down their line of thinking, then they have all the talking points there. But at the same time, you can't try to get ahead of that. You have to have the conversation. I like that. I like that even better than I mean, I kind of like white better because it's like right in her face, expecting her to or she wouldn't expect that to be that direct. But that would be a great answer too. But this whole, who voted for them? I agree with Elder, but that is not answering the question. Tragachala says, why is it so hard for people to articulate their arguments and have a conversation instead of trying to shut it down through manipulation tactics? Because feelings. You answered your own question. Feelings. Exactly that. People, it's feelings and ego. Everybody feels like we all have the right answers. And when somebody challenges that, that feels like we personally are being challenged. And so if you can remain intellectual, if you can remain in an academic way, having this conversation about the ideas, and this is my ideology, and if you don't like it, that must mean you don't like me. I need you to like me. That's not going to get us anywhere. That's not going to get us anywhere. And exactly, you said it yourself, because feelings. That's why. Zig said to Nick, all having a good day. Word up, word up.
Okay. But if your argument is that the reason he did it is because of racism, then I disagree. He did it because of
That's not my argument. I just asked you a simple question. Was he white or black? Charlamagne?
And Mr. Elder, you said you talked about the smash and grabs, right? And I find that interesting because when you see the mass shootings that happen, majority of those people are white males. What do you think about that?
Actually, if you look at the percentage of whites in America, which is 60%, percentage of mass shooters is under that. Percentage of people that commit hate crime is under that. Percentage of people who are serial killers is under that. Black people are 13% of the population. We commit a greater percentage compared to that
But no,
of
you
mass
specifically
shootings.
talked about the smash and grabs, though. So I was saying, since you're using that as an example, I'm saying, well, what about the mass shooters that are?
What about them?
White males.
What about them? Yes, there's a bunch of people who do that, and most of them are white. But what is a mass shooting? 3 or more people injured. So, yeah, the ones that you see on the news. If you'd said school instead of mass, then you might have a point there. But you're just wrong.
One more time. They are usually white males because 60% of the country is white. However, they underrepresent in terms of the number of mass shootings. About 50% or so of the mass shootings in this country are committed by white people, even though white people are 60% of the population. They underrepresent. We overrepresent when it comes to hate crime, when it comes to mass shootings, when it comes to serial killings, when it comes to robberies, when it comes to virtually every category of violent crime. We overrepresent.
So what do white people do wrong? I'm gonna keep asking you that because I want.
But Charlamagne, that's racist. There is not a thing that all white people do wrong. The premise of your question is faulty. But this is what Larry Elder needs to say. You need to articulate that. We know that, but you need to articulate.
Seems to me, rather than deal with what's going on, the pathology that's going on in the inner city, you want me to talk about how bad white people are,
No,
which I don't think is which I don't think is a particularly productive thing to do.
Well, I think
I'm talking.
I think there's a cause and effect, but if we can't talk about the cause, which I believe is systemic racism and white supremacy, the FBI says.
Well, I just told you, if it's systemic racism, please explain to me how it was when America really had systemic racism in 1940. 87% of blacks lived under the poverty line. Again, this is during Jim Crow era. My father is from Athens, Georgia, grew up in Jim Crow. My mom is from Huntsville, Alabama, grew up in Jim Crow. 87% of blacks live below the poverty line. This is before Brown versus Board of Education. You did not find these kind of black on black crime.
Probably because we had no
But
choice
they still were living
ourselves.
below the poverty line, though, sir.
I'm sorry?
You're forgetting the fact that
That is a pivot. We weren't talking about poverty. We were talking about violence. We were talking about crime. And sure, maybe they were. And that's definitely something that we can talk about. Are they now? Okay, why is that? Sure, we can have that conversation. But you brought this up. Now that he has an answer, you just want to pivot? Come on. Dude, out of taxes. Why does it matter what race is doing these events? And I don't know. It's a good question. That is a good question. Next is, I hear you. I don't want people giving others reason not to trust me because of their experience with other white people. I can take, but you can't control that, brother. I feel you, but you can't control that. He goes on to say, I can take it, but I don't want others to have to take it. One of those things. And it is one of those things. I completely understand. But we have to recognize where the issue is. The issue is that this woke ideology now has made you, Nick, a good man who has lived a good life, tries to be a good person. You're always positive, all of these things. Now you feel bad for what other people have done who have nothing to do with you. You don't know them. You've never met them. But they've brainwashed you to feel bad about it. What about, it would make more sense to me. It would make more sense to me if you're like, when anybody named Nick does something, it really makes us look bad. That would make more sense to me than saying, oh, well, when white people, or for me to say, oh, when Indian people do this. That's how we got into this mess in the first place. But yeah, it definitely is one of those things. It's tough. It's tough. And we're getting it from 360 all sides all the time. So I'm not scolding you. I'm just pointing out, this is the symptom of the problem. Daniel says, well, of course, they want to pivot. Facing tribalism is about the scariest thing they can do, especially when it's their own. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, why does gender matter as well? That's these things don't matter. These things don't matter. These are individual people. These are individual people. And it's not to say that we can't look at patterns and see, okay, this group of people is doing, this, that, and the other. But when it comes down to the individual, they're still just an individual, regardless of what group they're a part of, regardless of what hair color, what gender, what skin color. They're still one individual person.
they were still living below the poverty line. You're picking and choosing, saying this was good, but this was bad.
Okay.
The bottom
Projection. Oh, forget. We got to do our projection cheers. The sweet, sweet taste of that projection juice.
line, they end between the poverty line. But let's move forward.
Well,
on
let me-
system.
can I
Let's
just
move
add-
forward.
just-
Let's move forward before you have anything to say about that, because I realize that as I'm talking, I don't really have a point here.
Address that. In 1940, 87% of blacks lived under the poverty line. 1960, that number had fallen to 47%. That's a 40-point drop in 20 years. That's the greatest 20-year period of economic expansion for black people in the history of America. Again, well before Brown versus Board of Education, well before the KKK imploded, well before we had race-based preferences. Why? Because it was rare for a black kid to be raised in a family without a father in the home.
It's a father problem, not a race problem.
A strong belief in Judeo-Christian values, a belief in patriotism, even as America wasn't applying these values to black people, obviously, and a belief in entrepreneurship. All those things are now under assault by organizations like Black Lives Matter. Charlamagne, Black Lives Matter had on their website an attack on the nuclear family. The founders are self-described Marxists, trained Marxists. Marx wanted to dethrone God, was an atheist, and Marx did not believe in capitalism, let alone entrepreneurship.
I'm going to let that slide. I'm going to let that slide about the atheism because he's cooking, but...
All the things that made Black people still survive in virulent racism are now under attack by organizations like Black Lives
But
Matter.
all of those things have always been under attack by white supremacy. You can go back to things like whether it's the Tulsa race massacres, like every time Black people do create these systems that are our systems and we are the entrepreneurs, it seems like white supremacy finds a way to destroy it.
Every time, look.
If you are always looking for white supremacy, then, oh yeah, it's always going to find a way into my perception of this because you're looking for it. That's what we call a self-fulfilling prophecy. What do they say? If you say you can, then you can. If you say you can't, then you can't. If you go into a foot race saying, oh, I'm never going to win, I'm not even going to try, then of course you're not going to win. That becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Even if you are faster than the other person, if you don't actually try, if you don't actually do what it takes to accomplish your goal, then yeah, you're going to fail. Shout out to Bruce Stinson. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Good to see ya. Yeah, I don't really want to get into the whole thing about gender, but Doodad said another thing about genders is mispronunciation. I don't feel like calling someone daddy/baddie. Like, who the hell, like, what the hell? Who in their right mind would call you that? Yeah, that's, yeah, pretty much. Try Guy says that victim mindset is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Exactly.
The Tulsa massacre, within about 5 years, that whole area was rebuilt. It was not even called the Black Wall Street until after it was rebuilt. It was rebuilt, by the way, by Black people without one dime of government money.
Yeah, but who destroyed it to begin with?
It was racists who destroyed it. No question about it.
Sure.
We've had race riots, but so have Japanese.
So you do agree that there's racism? I'm just so confused.
You know, I never even came close to saying. I never came close. I never came close.
Why is she not in the studio? Do they not have enough money to pay for another microphone? I mean, all right, whatever.
To saying there was no racism.
You just saying you don't think it's systemic racism?
Not anymore. Obviously, there was. We had something called slavery. We had something called Jim Crow.
That destroyed Black. Hold on, sir. That was system that destroyed. That was the system that destroyed Black Wall Street. It's the same system right now that's not even wanting to pay those same living descendants. Because I know your position on reparations, but those same living descendants of Black Wall Street.
Okay.
And then you move, and then you go on to say that the system, the quote unquote system, is also trying to destroy President Trump. So I'm just so confused on: do you believe that the system can destroy or not? You pick and choose, sir, and that's what's so confusing to me. You just said it wasn't racism. Now it is racism. When it was time.
So the only thing she said there that has any weight is like, at first you're saying the system can destroy, but now you're saying that the system can't destroy, and you're talking about it in terms of Black people, and then you're talking about it in terms of Trump, and that doesn't make sense to her. It makes sense to me that it doesn't make sense to her, but it definitely makes sense if you let him actually say it. Shout out to Jay. Welcome to the party. Hope you are having a good day at work. Make that money, bro. Unwanted Foe said she's pretending that only one system can exist. She's not pretending. That's just what she thinks.
I said it wasn't.
There was no racism.
I said it wasn't systemic racism. Let's talk about.
We know you're confused.
So what are you just hung up on the word system?
Can I just make this point, Charlamagne, please? Let's take Chinese Americans.
Let's go. The Indian Jesus is half Chinese. Let's go, Chinese Americans.
Americans were the first ethnic group to be excluded with an immigration act in the late 1800s. They had riots against Chinese in LA, in San Francisco. There were laws that prevented Chinese Americans from participating in the laundry business. I'm in California. California, of course, rounded up Japanese Americans during World War II. There were laws that prevented Japanese Americans from owning farmland. The average Japanese American household has a higher per capita income than the average white household.
But what about Black people and white people? I don't want to talk about Asian people because that destroys my whole argument.
The average Chinese American household has a higher per capita income than the average white household. How does that happen? It happens because of a strong belief in family. It is rare for a Chinese American or a Japanese American kid to have a child outside of wedlock, and a strong belief in education and a strong belief in entrepreneurship. These are the kinds of qualities that make people successful.
You can't blame everything on having a fatherless family, right? Because
Can't you? And sure, not everything, but most things, absolutely we can.
say blaming
I
everything.
know, but that's what you're saying. You're saying a strong community. But
No, you said
talk
that's
about
what
the
I just
Asian
said. I didn't
community,
say
but you
that.
talk about the Asian community. Asian community, it's easy for them to get loans for entrepreneurships. It's easy for them to get loans for houses. You look at our community.
Okay.
If you really want to talk about our community, right? You look at the schools in our community. Some of our schools are the worst, right? Would you agree with that? Yes or no?
Absolutely.
Right, don't have Wi-Fi, don't have education, don't have
one of
books.
the reasons I'm running for president is for school choice.
Also, would you say that is in our
That's
community
also
is
systemic.
it's also in our communities heavy food deserts. There's nothing but fast food places that are just killing and destroying that. Would you say that's true?
Systemic too.
Boy.
Would you say that's true? I'm just asking a question.
You said a number of things. I just addressed one of them about
Sure.
loans. In 1965, Barack Obama, who was in private practice, joined a bunch of other lawyers to file a class action lawsuit against Citicorp, which is headquartered here in New York. 186 Black people were applying for loans for mortgages and didn't get them. And they accused Citicorp of engaging in racism. Citicorp said, no, it's not racism. You have poor credit scores, and we want to make sure we get our money back. Obama joined a bunch of other lawyers, and they sued Citicorp in a class action lawsuit. And Citicorp said, okay, to hell with it. Gave them all loans. And they followed them all up. Daily Caller did a few years later. Almost all of them lost their homes. Several of them filed for bankruptcy. One of them even said, you know, when you don't qualify for a loan, maybe we shouldn't get a loan. Well,
what? Wait a minute. If you don't qualify for a loan, they were saying you should or you shouldn't get that loan. But I'm the racist for saying that Black people should be able to understand that very simple notion. Okay, got it. Just making sure. And Daniel's saying about the food deserts because people won't stop stealing stuff. But and I mean that's certainly exacerbating the problem that was already there. But I it's exactly what Elder is talking about. It's just constant. It's a continued pattern of bad decisions that are culturally reinforced. That it's a good idea to go get this loan that you can't afford because, well, it's money. It's free money. That you got to make sure that your 1-year-old has Jordans, and then when they grow out of it in 3 months, you got to get them a little bit more, they're a little bit bigger. You got to get them a little bit bigger Jordans, and you got to have the nicest car, and you got to do all these things. If you want to tell me that has nothing to do with Black culture, then I don't know what Black culture means, and I'm very, very happy to have that conversation. But I'm gonna say y'all. That's what y'all make it seem like. The world definitely does run on money. And all right, yeah, take all the height jokes. All the height jokes. All right. Unwanted foes said to Mountain, while we're all thinking it, you didn't have to say it. Yeah, I mean, right? Thank you, unwanted foe. So Daniel says, do descendants of Black slave owners get reparations too? Of course, they were just part of a system. Don't you get it, Daniel? You stupid white man. Okay, it's a system, and all Black people, whether they were born here or not, whether they own slaves, come on. Obviously, I know you were being sarcastic. Nick says, however they can divide us, they will happily try. Indeed, they will. Shout out to CJ Rules You. Welcome to the party. Dunat says, in the school I go to, everyone has Jordans. Well, yeah, right. Let's give a shout out. Let's take a drink to Bob Barker. I didn't have an opportunity to talk about that. So Chad Guy Travels, for all the days, for all the sick days, especially my millennials, you know exactly what I mean. The sick days that you would try to stay home and just guess that price. All right. And yes, sir, that is indeed the Price is Right bell. Cheers and RIP. Zeg says Japan has a 0 interest rate, which means you can take out a 0% loan in Japan and invest that money in a money market account, which is 5% plus or minus percent after 12 months. You can pay the loan and create 5% profit. Well, not financial advice, but smart. He said Mexican. You white.
Well, duh. It wasn't true that Black people were not getting loans. Plus, there are all sorts of Black-owned community banks around the country, and it turns out the turn-down rate when you apply for a loan at a community bank was even higher because they had less capital and they couldn't afford to loan money to risky people. It is just not the case that the reason for the plight of the Black community is because people were not lending money to them. It's just not.
Every single thing that you can find, every single thing that you can find a racial disparity, you can spin it into discrimination. But disparity does not equal discrimination. People are not all equal. So there are going to be differences in every aspect of life. That does not mean it's discriminatory or unfair in any way. I'm not saying that everything is fair, but just because there's just a discrepancy does not mean that it is discrimination.
Not true.
That's not true. But
Yeah,
hold
not
on
true.
one second, Charlamagne. But see,
What's not
you're
true?
bringing back facts of 1965, right? Let's talk 2023, right?
I said 1995.
1995. We'll talk 2023, right? My son will be successful in real estate and successful in buying a house. You know why? Because his father owns a house.
Because
his
of
father
you.
owns a house, right? But my father
Because of you and the
his
drive.
sister
Because of
his-
you and the
his
drive you put
family
into
did
him.
not own houses. I'll let
Because
you
of
speak. Let me
because of
speak.
you and the
can't talk
drive
over
you
me.
put
If we're not-
into
If we're not
him.
gonna have a conversation,
You're
not a
not even
conversation.
appreciating
I
what
just
you've
let
done
you
to your
speak, and I'm
son.
just asking.
What did he just say? What did he just say? This is something that I feel racist AF whenever I feel like saying it because it sounds racist. But what did he just say? What did he just say? Pay attention to what the last thing that he says here.
You speak, right? But my father
Because of you and the
his
drive.
sister
Because of
his-
you and the
his
drive you
family
put into
did
him.
not own houses. I'll let you
Because of
speak. Let me
because of
speak.
you and the
can't talk
drive you
over me.
put
If we're not-
into
If we're
him.
not gonna have a
I mean,
conversation, not a
you're not even
conversation.
appreciating
I
what
just
you've
let you
done to your
speak, and I'm
son.
just
You're not even appreciating what you've done for yourself. You're not even appreciating what you've done for yourself. This victim mentality is blinding you that you are arguably famous, you are rich, you will be able to provide a life for your children that you didn't have. And you're light-skinned as fuck. But you're still oppressed because reasons. I'm telling you, this idea of Black inferiority is I think mostly a self-fulfilling prophecy. And then once that happens amongst the community, then on the outside of the community, it's like, all right, if you guys think this is your culture, if you guys think robbing and drugs and being ghetto and all, if you guys say that's your culture, don't get mad at me for then thinking, okay, Black culture, rappers, ghettos, drug dealers. I don't think that because I'm more enlightened than they are sitting at the table. But don't get mad at anybody when you are putting that message out there. Your dad's saying, well, actually, your dad's uncle's cousin's dad was a slave owner. That means you're racist. All the time. All the time. All the time. Yeah, they do. That is, if you have not written, I don't know, I can't talk today. If you're not read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that's, is that Dale Carnegie? I forget who, there's that and one other book that my dad's always talking about. But Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Definitely a great read. And it's not that long either. And it will change the way that you look at your life, your abilities. It'll change how you look at the world and how you can make money and how capable you actually are, as this guy clearly does not see. Robert Kiyosaki. There you go. I knew I was there was the other one. What was Carnage? Is that How to Win Friends and Influence People? Either way, both those books, very great. And Robert Kiyosaki for Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Check it out. Daniel said, it's not my fault. The Aztec genes didn't fully activate. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying you white.
asking you a question. I just let you speak and I'll let
All
you
right.
talk.
Okay.
Y'all can talk.
We have a conversation.
All right.
But when we talk about it, right, it's harder for our community to get loans, right? And not just because of poor credit scores, it's because of where the areas are. You talked about the Asian community.
Okay. Why are the areas the way that they are? That's a pretty important part of what you're saying that you're just glossing right over, aren't you?
A lot of the Asian community have their own banks and they're able to process and get their own banks. There's not too many African-American branches that are able to give out money. So that's one. Then let's talk about getting grants for schools. They're not even giving grants for schools at the rate that they're giving grants for white people. And let's talk about when.
Okay. Why is that? Instead of just listing a bunch of grievances, pick a topic and have a conversation. This is just a struggle session for for white people with a black guy.
and they talk about entrepreneurship. They are giving so much money to these white and Asian kids and Asian people doing it, and a 1,000 times less than our community. Would you agree?
Then why is your show bigger than my show? No? Didn't think so.
To any of that?
No, I don't. I don't agree with virtually any of what you just now said. The turn down rate for a white applicant for a mortgage is higher than the turn down rate for a Japanese or a Chinese applicant for a mortgage. Now, are you telling me that banks are discriminating against white and in favor of Asian Americans? It's because their credit scores are better. They often live below their means. They save more, even when they're making the same amount of money than black people do. If you have poor credit score, you're not going to get a loan. Period. End of statement. Even the head of Urban League, a black man once said that if you have poor credit score, you're not going to get a loan. End of statement.
Sir. This is like the false decorum that they have. I forget if it's in the House of Representatives or the Senate or both. But you can't talk directly to people. So they'll say like, the gentleman will sit down. The gentleman would sit down instead of saying, yo, sit your ass down. You have to address the gentleman, the lady, sir, like, come on. Like, who do you think you're fooling? You think you're fooling us? You're certainly not fooling Larry Elder. Sir.
Yes.
Let's just, okay. When you were talking about crime, you weren't prepared to talk about.
Shout out the track guy Travels. Sir. I've been trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty. Good one. All right. Let's back up.
Sir,
Yes.
let's just, okay. When you were talking about crime, you weren't prepared to talk about disproportion. You talked about how it was more black people that was doing it, and then you talked about how we're the smaller, of the population. The same applies also to the loans. It's more white people than it is black people. You seem to pick and choose.
I'm talking about
when
the
you want
rate.
to-
I'm talking about
Right,
the rate.
whatever it is. The bottom line is it's more white people than it is black people. And so if more
Okay, so why is that the case? You just look, it's so like superficial. Like, oh, more of this. So women make less money than men, though that must be discrimination. Why do women make less money than men? Which is, quickly not becoming the case at all.
more black people are not getting loans disproportionately, it seems you'd only want to apply the disproportion to the conversation when it benefits your talking
I'm not
points.
sure you.
Yeah, he was about to say, I'm not sure you understand, and exactly.
Which is why they say.
I'm not sure you
No, I
understood.
understood.
I'm not sure you understood my point. That's why I mentioned in 1995, when 186 black people who were not getting loans filed a class action lawsuit claiming that they were denied the loan because of racism. Citicorp said, okay, here are your loans. The reason I wasn't giving you the loans is because we're afraid you weren't going to be able to pay them back.
I'm not talking about
Fast
this,
forward,
sir.
they weren't able to pay them back, which proves the
Sir, I'm not
Citicorp
talking
point.
about that. I'm not talking
I
about
know
that.
you're
I'm
not,
talking about your
'cause
response.
inconvenient.
I'm talking about.
Based. I know you're not talking about that, because that's what you should be talking about if you actually care about solving the issues that you talk about.
About your response to Envy when you said more white people get approved for loans.
Since you
I'm
like
not talking
numbers,
about
I
Washington Post
said-
said black Americans have the highest denial rates for purchase and refinancing loans, according to Home Mortgage Disclosures Act.
Because of
20%
their credit
black
score.
and all credit
Exactly.
scores are the same. 15% of Hispanic loan applicants were denied, compared with about 11% of white and 10% of Asian applicants with same credit scores. And that's Washington Post, since you love numbers so much, and I know you do love numbers. That's coming from the Washington Post. That's 2023, not 1995.
I can show you a study that says the opposite.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Mr. Elder, Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, and I'm pretty sure everybody who just caught a RICO with him in Georgia, they all had fathers. They still ended up in jail. How did that happen?
Mhm.
Because they broke the law. Well, technically they didn't, but I mean, well, let me not go that far. Mainly because the Democrats and Biden's administration are going after them. That's how that happened.
Nobody
Well, let
said
me help-
nobody said if you have a father you won't go to jail. And nobody said if you didn't have a father you were going to jail. My father never.
But guess
knew it.
what you did say,
Can-
Mr.
can-
Elder?
can-
I'm sorry, respectfully.
May I answer his question?
Guess what you did
May
say.
I
I'm
answer his
gonna help you
question?
No,
because I know-
let him finish his statement, Ted.
Okay.
My
Before it does, let's go to Track Guy Travel. Says she doesn't care about solving any issues. She just needs to be right and win the argument. It is that sign language. Shout out to the late, great Kevin Samuels. Shame, insults, guilt, and the need to be right. Just amped up because now she's getting paid for it. Shout out to Indie Film. Welcome to the party. Check your goddamn email. I just sent you something to put on the site that's gonna make you a lot of money. Welcome to the party, brother.
My father never knew his biological father. He got thrown out of the house when he was 13 years old, 8th grade dropout, Jim Crow South, Athens, Georgia. Fast forward, my dad cleaned toilets, 2 full-time jobs cleaning toilets when I was growing up. Went to night school to get his GED, and then after that, he went to night school to learn how to operate a small restaurant. Age of 47, my dad saves his nickels and dimes from his job, starts a small restaurant near downtown LA. Fast forward, he retires in his 80s. He owned that restaurant. He owned property next door, plus the house that's still in our family.
Wait a minute. Hold up. So I just want to get this right. I think what he's trying to say is that if you work hard, you have a better chance of doing well in life. I'm not sure I understand because it's really complicated, but I think working hard is a good thing as well as having fathers in the home. Maybe I'm stupid, but that's what I'm getting from him thus far.
Not too shabby for somebody who did not know his biological father. It's not a death sentence. You still have choices. It's just much more difficult to raise a child on your own. Even Tupac Shakur said, "I know for a fact." Tupac, excuse me. I know for a fact. Had I had a father, I would have been more confident. I would have been more disciplined.
Based. Daniel says, I'd say she has more to. I'd say she more has to twist the facts to win an argument. Look at the earlier look at the system, yet she wanted to focus on the one cog of the machine. Yeah, I mean, she's all over the place. She's all over the place. What about determinism? Hey, look who's here, Veronica. Welcome. It's been a while. Very, very good to see you. Welcome to the party. Yeah, exactly, Unwanted Foe. Working hard and making long-term decisions. It's a crazy idea, but I think that might be what he's getting at.
The quote.
Well, how did all those white men end up in jail when they still had fathers? The Trumps and the Giuliani.
He just said that. He just said it's not a death sentence. Like, are you you can only say that if you blatantly just don't understand how probability works. Well, there was a black person and they had a dad and they did bad, so it can't be dads. It has to be race.
What?
That doesn't even make sense. It says determinism is the story of Elder's dad. Okay. I think you mean like he was determined. So determinism is like a scientific thing, meaning like the universe is already. So I think what you mean is persistence. But yeah, absolutely, persistence and dedication and all of that. Absolutely. Thank you to Trad God Travels. That's such a low ask. 3, I love it. Please, thank you very, very much.
Asking the question, how did they end up in jail?
Because some people commit crimes.
No, sir. Stop.
No, they didn't get arrested because they. Oh well, wait, whoa. Did I just miss something? Did she say no? They didn't commit crimes? Okay. Now we're making sense.
Because some people commit crimes.
No, sir.
Oh, she's on Trump's team. Okay, now it makes sense.
Stop. My apologies for interrupting you earlier. I just couldn't stomach the answer that I knew you were going to say.
Couldn't stomach the answer?
Yeah, I couldn't stomach because your actual answer.
I couldn't stomach the truth because I just need to live in this echo chamber of a victim totally all the time. Yeah, I don't want to foe when the host doesn't understand what statistics mean. I mean, if this, and again, I'm not a regular viewer of anything Charlamagne. I have respect for the platform that he's built, but it's just, I'm not his audience. If this is the height of black culture entertainment, then why are you mad at people for looking down? Do better. How about that? And I'm not talking about black people in general. I'm specifically talking about the people in this video, in this studio, or on this call for her. Do better. You have everything. You have everything at your disposal. There's no reason not to understand how statistics work when you're Charlamagne Tha God in 2023. You had Joe Biden on your program. He is the president of the United States. That is a great accomplishment. So read a fucking book.
to Trump being what was happening to him with the indictments, you actually said that the system was doing it. You said there was a two-tier system. This
That's
is
right.
your words.
That's right.
That it was a two-tier system. So when it came to Trump, all of a sudden you now believe in this systematic thing that's happening to Trump. But then when it happens
it's
to
not.
black people,
But it's not about race. It's not about
I didn't
race.
ask you that. I asked you. Remember, I made it easy for you, and I took race out of it. Remember, I said I'm just talking about the.
Did you know? Did you really know? Because I think if we roll the tape back, I don't think you did.
System. I'm just talking about the system.
If you want
So when
to ask me whether I believe Donald Trump is being treated the same way as Joe Biden and is being
No, I
treated
didn't
the same
ask
way
you
as
that.
Hillary
You
Clinton, all these
Mr.
people are
Elder,
white. All these
you-
people are white. There's a double standard.
Well,
Mr. Elder, you didn't hear.
But again, here you're getting off track, and this is not a good showing right now. I'm not confident. As bad as they are on the Breakfast Club of being fair, politics ain't fair. You got to handle it better than this. You got to be able to hone in on what you can get them on. And I'm saying things like when they ask who was it, saying yeah, it was white people, or what race were they? It was the human race, as Melted My Media said. You have to head on accept these head on, because if they sense a little bit of wobbliness, then the people who are listening to this for politics are not politicos. They're not like you guys who come to an actual political show. This is just on in the car, and you're getting trounced by them. I mean, yeah, it's 3 people, but it's these 3 people. Like, what are we talking about? Dude, and he's like, dude, this whole entire video is about race. Like, good line from indie film. Charlamagne the God Complex is what he should be called. Or Charlamagne the Fraud. We going in. Nick says, when did we decide being a victim is a good thing? I always thought we were trying to avoid being victimized. That is true. But once the government will, as Larry was talking about, once the government incentivizes you to become a victim, then that gets transferred over into the culture. That the culture, society gives you social credit for being a victim. Then, like, all right, I don't have anything else going on in my life, so let me just, that thing that happened a couple of weeks ago, it pretty much sucked, but I'm over it. Or maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm traumatized. Maybe I have PTSD. I know people really have PTSD from real things, but I don't care because I can benefit. That's how. Shout out to Martian Overlord. Welcome to the party. Said it's actually about people not wanting to pay taxes to maintain a police force. No tax money means quotas. Quotas mean tickets and arrests. Race is a tool of politicians to divide the people. Sure, I mean, absolutely. Every cop will tell you we don't work with quotas.
Come on, man.
We all know. Track Guy Travel said, I thought the same thing as Nick, but too many people nowadays love playing the victim, unfortunately. Unfortunately, indeed. And Melted My Media just straight up says 2014, and I'm not mad at that answer. It says Chardalame. All right, I'll give that a 7. 7 out of 10.
Question.
You said that
you didn't hear my question.
You said some people commit crimes, so you do believe that Trump, Giuliani, they committed a crime.
I don't know.
But you just said some people commit crimes.
I said some people committed a crime. I didn't say Donald Trump committed a crime. If you ask me specifically whether I believe Donald Trump committed a crime, I don't.
Specifically about those people and why they ended up in jail. And they all got fathers.
Well, Donald Trump is not in jail.
Oh, he got indicted.
Yeah, he got indicted. That's a far cry from being in jail.
Why did he get indicted?
Well, he got arrested, is what I'm saying.
He's
going to get arrested.
He got
arrested.
He got indicted, in my opinion, because the DOJ has a double standard. They let Hillary pass, for example. She clearly violated the Espionage Act by having an unsecured server in her basement. She paid for the Steele dossier.
Yep. Hey, shout out to Indie Film with a $5 super chat. Says some families embrace victimhood. It's not, it's bigger than the families themselves. It's society at large embraces victimhood. All right, let's see if he's gonna eat. Morty, come on, we got a treat for you. Eat it, buddy, eat it. Yay, we got it. All right, let's see if he's gonna take unwanted treat. There we go. All right, Indie Phil got my boy to eat. And of course, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Thank you so much, brother. Very, very much appreciated.
She
So was
destroyed.
it the
She
system?
destroyed 30,000 emails that were under subpoena, and she
Yup.
got a wrist slap. And Donald
Yup.
Trump is now being indicted, I think, for the
Well, that's
fourth
'cause
time.
she's
It's
white.
unfair.
Right.
Black
For-
people, black
by
people
what,
been
the
telling y'all how
system?
corrupt the FBI is for a long time.
And the FBI
True.
has been corrupt. There was COINTEL, the
That's right.
the
True.
FBI,
J. Edgar Hoover.
J. Edgar Hoover also wiretapped MLK under Robert Kennedy, a Democrat
And Malcolm X,
Attorney
and
General, Malcolm
Elijah
X, lots of things.
Muhammad.
Right. And I find it interesting how the same people who criticize the FBI historically are now defending the FBI because they're going after Donald Trump.
Facts. So you're at the same time, you're going to sit there and be like, black people have been telling you that the FBI sucks for decades until they go after the guy that we don't like. Why don't you like him? Excuse me? What was that? Let's just move on.
Oh, we're not defending the FBI.
I didn't say you were. I said some of the same people.
We're just looking and saying, damn, finally.
But what's your thoughts with
Justice is being
Florida?
served all across the board.
And you see that they're trying to take our history out of these history books and not trying to teach our history. What's your thoughts?
I find it interesting that the Democrats are the ones complaining about Florida. This is a party of
Facts. Before he gets into that, though, Unwanted Foe brings up a good point. Does Charlamagne now think every black person who gets put in jail is guilty now? Since Trump went, he's automatically guilty? Great point. Because it would be to his argument that the system is taking innocent black people and putting them in jail. So why wouldn't they be able to take innocent white people and put them in jail? Any of these points, if you just think about them for 5 minutes, instead of yelling over each other and trying to win points, then you'll understand better. But it's not, I mean, let's be honest. It's not just them. It's all over the place. It is all over the place. This is how people interact now. Yeah, Daniel says they let Hunter get away with backdoor deals. It's the same kind of thing. I mean, but again, they would say, well, he's white, so the system benefits him. Zig said some embrace other families' victimhood too. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Oh man, I wish we could see that Indian Jesus logo right there. But like on my beautiful shirt from buy6shirt.com, it is right there. Thank you, sir.
Of slavery, party of Jim Crow.
All right, wait, I'll back that up a little bit.
These history books and not trying to teach our history.
Wait, did I go backwards or forwards?
Here are now defending MLK under Robert.
Long time.
And the FBI has been corrupt. There was COINTEL, the FBI,
J. Edgar Hoover.
J. Edgar Hoover also wiretapped MLK under Robert Kennedy, a Democrat Attorney General, Malcolm X, lots of things. Right. And I find it interesting how the same people who criticize the FBI historically are now defending the FBI because they're going after Donald Trump.
Oh, we're not defending the FBI.
I didn't say you were. I said some of the same people.
We're just looking and saying, damn, finally.
What's your thoughts with Florida? And you see that they're trying to take our history out of these history.
That's a great point. Who said that? Daniel. I love how all three of these folks can't keep on one track in any conversation they get pushed back on. Like, okay, well, what about this? Okay, well, what about that? Okay, well, what about this? Okay, well, what about that? Oh, you're not automatically going to agree with us? Okay, well, it's like, again, this is who you raise up as black people. This is who you say is our guy in the black community to tell us what's good. And then you want me from the outside who's told I could never understand what it's like to be a black person, much less a white person understand. I see this and I'm supposed to have a different perspective than I do right now. That sounds like a you problem, not a me problem. Nick's like, you expect them to think? Where have you been, man? Melted My Media said, Larry getting pulled from 3 sides and not going crazy. I'm impressed. I'm not, because he's not going crazy, but he's not doing well. He should be driving the conversation, especially because of what Daniel's talking about, where they're not, they're kind of meandering. He needs to be like, no. You brought up a question, and now we're talking about this question. The only thing that they could do is Charlamagne be like, no, this is my show. You're not going to tell me how we're going to. But that looks really bad. Just throwing all these different things. People aren't paying attention. Like I said, this is this stuff that people listen to in their cars halfway through because it's already the station that was on in their car. So it's that quick fire, rapid fire, soundbite, gotcha type of thing is gonna work. It's not gonna help anybody except for the Breakfast Club. Zig said Charlamagne's full name is Leonard Larry McKelvey. Loser. Yeah. Leonard Larry. Try Guy Charles said they seriously need a moderator for this conversation. Well, I mean, I thought that's what the role of Charlamagne would be. Let his boys, I mean, you know, his boy and his and the girl, let his people go and you know, be a little bit more steadfast, and he, you know, roll back and kind of keep it civil, and then maybe add his own things. But that's the way that this should go. But again, what Nick said. Nick says to Trad Guy, if they did that, the conversation would actually happen, and they would actually have to back up their points, which they don't want to do. Well said.
Books and not trying to teach our history. What's your thoughts?
I find it interesting that the Democrats are the ones complaining about Florida. This is a party of slavery, party of Jim Crow, party of the KKK, party of the Southern Manifesto, the party of Dred Scott, the party that I said earlier destroyed the nuclear intact family, and the party that is opposing school choice. And now they want to lecture Florida on making sure the proper history of slavery is taught. I don't know anybody who's defending slavery. Anybody. Not Ron DeSantis. He's not defending.
People benefited from slavery.
Actually, you're talking about one line. You're talking about one line in about 127 pages of the study, and it is.
It looks like she's in her refrigerator box. Legend has it she never leaves.
A line that was repeated almost verbatim in the associated in the advanced placement African American course that the DeSantis administration refused to use because of all of the sexual stuff that was in it. It's basically the same thing that was in the advanced placement African American courses, and now because it's in that, all of a sudden the governor is accused of somehow defending slavery. He's not doing anything of the sort.
End of the year. It better be damn sooner than that. We only like 200 people away. What are we talking about? Definitely before that.
You were actually one that defended slavery. In your comments, you said that, like it or not, slavery was legal in response to reparations. So it's you that
I do not know. Judan says Karen the Darren. Yeah, I do not know her name. And then it says girl on the TV. That's her name. Good enough, right? But if anybody does know, let us know.
Was defending slavery, correct?
Defending it.
Let's get that full question.
That defended slavery in
Slavery. He's not doing anything of the sort.
What did you think about
well,
that?
sir,
line?
you were actually one that defended slavery. In your comments, you said that, like it or not, slavery was legal in response to reparations. So
that's not a defense of slavery. That's just a statement of fact. Was slavery not legal? Did the Holocaust? I don't even think I could say that. But you know where I was going. Just saying that the Holocaust happened is not defending Hitler. You fucking moron.
So it's you that was defending slavery, correct?
Defending it and saying that it's illegal are two very different things. Slavery, unfortunately.
That was your response.
Shut up. Let him talk.
If reparations should happen. So your response to that was, like it or not, slavery was legal, and one would think that was a defense on those who.
Well, what you would think it was a defense.
There you go. That's exactly what I was thinking. Well, no, one being you, the one dumbass person who would think that is a defense. Like, what? What? Dude, that says this lady does not know what she is talking about. Not at all. Not at all. Any Film says, why is she culturally appropriating white people hair color? I am offended.
How dare you?
You should take that. You should call the station and tell them that you're offended on behalf of your race. See how that goes. Record the call. That would be fun. Martian Overlord says, words. What are they and how do they work? They don't know. They don't know. Daniel says, dueling was legal and that was okay. The fact that I said that, does that mean that I'm now okay with drive-by shootings? According to Lady in the Box, it does.
It is not a defense. Unfortunately, slavery has been part and parcel of human history from the very beginning. Asians enslaved Asians, whites enslaved whites, blacks enslaved blacks, Native Americans enslaved Native Americans. This is a culture, the Western civilization, that had a revulsion against it. We had a civil war against it.
Yep. Yeah, why don't we talk about that? What other country literally went to war to stop slavery? Dude, that says this sounded like Amber Heard versus Johnny Depp. Oh, man. Did you guys watch the Netflix doc I watched the whole trial with the lead attorney, but the way that they cut the Netflix doc up, I was worried that they were going to, try to bolster Amber's image. But they didn't. They destroyed her. So basically what they did was like the testimony of the events that actually happened. They lined up like one of the lawyers asking a question about like, okay, what happened the night of the bar or whatever, and then they would cut Amber's answer. And then whenever Johnny was doing his, they would cut it together so you could see it side by side. And she's all like, she's all like, it was terrifying. I saw the blacks in his eyes and I knew he wasn't there. And he's like, yeah, she threw a bottle at me and I didn't know what to do. My finger was off. And it's just like, bro, who believed her? Who believed her? There's even in the documentary, the day that they read the verdict when Johnny wasn't there, there was one chick at the courthouse. Like, well, nobody's supporting her, so I think I should. Why don't you ask yourself why nobody is supporting her? Daniel says, you mean lady who doesn't get any in her box? The whole bottle. Oh my God, the bottom of the bottle. Oh my God. Shout out to the lead attorney. Dudad says, did you hear that she pooped in Johnny's bed and blamed it on the dog? Yes, sir, I did. Like I said, I watched that whole trial, start to finish. Well, there was one day, the day that she talked about my dog got stung by a bee. I had to work during that, so I didn't see that part, but everything else I saw. Shout out to the Camcast. Welcome to the party. Says, sorry, Pop's gonna have to hashtag believe all women on the turd case there. Well, that's right. We have to believe all women, guys. Thank you, Camcast, for checking our male privilege. Without the Camcast, we would all be male sexist bigots. So thank you. You've done a great service to America. On to post said, didn't see the dog, but watch it all through. Nate the lawyer. It was hilarious. Yeah, definitely. If you enjoyed it, and even if you didn't see it, either way, go check out that documentary. Zig says people were believing she used to take pound dumps in the center of what? I mean, all right, I don't want to go all night about Amber and stuff. I was just saying, definitely better cry than better laugh than cry. Definitely. Yeah.
Applaud ourselves for doing something about this. This is a flawed country. It's moving forward. It's becoming more perfect all the time. Today, if you are born and raised in America, if you finish high school, presumably one where you can read, write, and compute at grade level, which is why I support school choice. Don't have a kid before you're 20. Get married first. Get a job. Keep a job. Don't quit it until you get another job. And avoid the criminal justice system. You will not be poor.
Bingo!
Yeah. So we got a name for the lady in the box. Her name is Teslin Figaro. I like refrigerator box better, so we gonna stick with that. Daniel Cabrera says, well, what is a woman? How do I know when I've met one to believe them? Well, if you don't know, then you're a bigot. It's not my job to educate you, okay? What do you think? I have a YouTube channel where I talk about things that I know? Come on, bro. Men indeed are becoming women. Are women a myth? Ooh, maybe. That says we have an imposter among us. Isn't there a... Oh, no, I don't have that. Never mind. I was thinking there was an Among Us sound effect that was similar to something that I have, but I don't remember what it is and what it was, and I don't have it. So I should stop talking about it. Camcast said, Adam's apple, my friend. Adam's apple. I was not looking, but we're going to have to look now. And the film comes in with the standard. Why are you so obsessed with somebody's genitalia? Because you're such a bigot.
If you don't follow that formula, there's a good chance you will be.
The first GOP debate is coming up, and you didn't qualify, and I saw you write.
Well, you didn't say I've not yet qualified. It's not until August 21.
Oh, okay. Well, I saw you writing the op-ed that the Republican National Committee has rigged the rules of the game by instituting a set of criteria that is onerous. What is it? Onerous.
Onerous.
Loser. Oh wait. Loser. So I'm interested to see how, because obviously this happened 11 days ago. So this was before Larry Elder knew that he was not going to be on the debate stage, despite the fact that he got 1% in 3 polls and however many he met all the criteria. But they said Rasmussen is not a valid poll. never mind that it's the biggest one that there is aside, it's Pew and Rasmussen. Do you know the name of any polling company off the top of your head like that other than Pew and Rasmussen? Me neither. But I would think that despite the fact that he's a Republican, that these black separatists, these black supremacists, dare I say, with some hyperbolic nature, I'm being facetious, but I would expect that they would be like, hey, that's messed up. You should be on the stage because you're one of us. This is how they think. But I don't know. Let's see.
I mispronounced Tupac, so you mispronounced onerous. So,
right.
so we're even.
You are really petty, Mr.
And he said, poorly designed that only establishment and billionaire candidates.
That's a good question. Why is it an Adam's apple when he was the one that bit it and gave it to us? Because religion is dumb.
Are guaranteed to be on stage. Explain to us why that system hurts people.
Well, I ran for governor of California. I got 3.5 million votes. It seemed to me that made me credible. The RNC is requiring us to have 1% or 40,000 individual donors. In 2020, the DNC required you to have 1% or a certain number of donors for reasons that I don't quite understand. The RNC is requiring you to have both of them. One of the candidates in this race is a multimillionaire. He's offered a $20 gift certificate if you give $1. Another one is offering a free.
That's politics. Don't sound salty when you say it. That's politics. That's politics. At this point, you did not know that they were going to screw you. Don't get mad that other people are politicking better than you're politicking. You're going to sound salty.
Air quotes, country western concert if you give $1. Another one is giving you a commission if you are a prospective donor to go out and get other prospective donors. It seems to me that corrupts the whole process. I'm doing it the old-fashioned way, Charlamagne. I'm asking people to support me.
Okay, and that's fair, and that's honorable. But you just went through the 2020 election. You know that doing it the honorable way is not going to win. So this is the trouble with the wanting to be in office for genuine honorable reasons, is that you cannot get there. This is why I say that you don't get to the White House by being a nice guy. You got to do some shady shit along the way. And so that's why when we look at these candidates from either side of the aisle, we have to judge them as politicians and not judge them as we would family, as you would friends, as you would somebody that you would welcome into your home, because that's not who they are. If that's who you are, then you are not going to win, and you should save your money and all the donors' money. This is the game. This is the game. If you're not going to play it, then all the people who support things that you're saying, you're stealing their money. Multimedia Media said they were worried Pence would confuse Larry and Tim Scott. They're both white supremacists, right? I mean...
And go to my website, larryelder.com, and give me at least $1. If I get $1 from 40,000 individuals, I will be up on that stage in Milwaukee on August 23. And when I get up there, game on, hold my beer.
So why is this system? Is this system holding you back?
Go ahead.
Would you say it's a system holding you back?
So this is interesting. This is interesting now. Now we're getting interesting because he was all, talking about, the system's not holding people back. But now the system literally held him back. He didn't know that yet, but it'll be interesting to see. Martian said, I'm an admitted asshole. I'll be a great president. Hey, I'll vote for you, bro. I'll vote for you. Yeah, they're politicians, not humans.
I would say it's unfair. It seems to me this early, the voters ought to decide this. I mean, in 2016, there were 17 or 18 Republican candidates. Now there's 13. Somehow, some way, our republic survived, and we could survive with 13 candidates. I don't know why they have all this rule to eliminate certain people at this point. But rather than
those systems can hold you back no matter how hard you work, right?
I'm going to say, but rather than whine about it, my goal is to get on as many shows as I can, like yours.
Okay,
urge
there
people
you go.
To go to larryelder.com, give at least $1, even if you want somebody else. Don't you think it's wise for us to talk about the epidemic of fatherlessness, the lie that America remains systemically racist, and the need for school choice? 13 public high schools in Baltimore, 0% of the kids can do math at grade level. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, same at LeBron school. Good job, LeBron. So one of Miami is asking, there was a Republican, the Republicans, they were giving people $20 gift cards for $1 donation. Was that Larry? I'm going to guess no, based on what he just said, but I wouldn't be surprised. Excuse me. Daniel says, in the game of presidency, you win or you end up like Ross Perot, forgotten with all your money. That's what it is. That's what it is. And that's why we are talking about all of these different candidates. Because we want to not only understand where they're coming from, we not only want to be able to understand how they're going, if they change, how they have changed over time. But if you're somebody who has the means to put money into a candidate that you believe in, you better be sure that they are somebody who is at least going to put that money to good use. That doesn't mean that they necessarily have to, win just because you've supported them. Like that's not. I'm not like we don't expect DeSantis to win, but that doesn't mean that that he's stealing money by running. That's a different thing. But if you're not willing to play the game, then why are you taking money from people? That's 40,000 people who have given you money for a game that you're not playing.
53 public high schools in Chicago, 0% of the kids can do math at grade level. Meanwhile, the Democratic Party is opposed to school choice, while the party elites, whether it's Barack Obama or Gavin Newsom or Joe Biden, have their own kids in private school. It is wrong, and we need to talk about that.
Larry Elder, why would somebody from our community vote for you, or why should they vote for you? Why should a black person vote for you?
Because I'm telling the truth, and the truth oftentimes is unpleasant. It's not pleasant for me to be called the black face of white supremacy, as the LA Times did. It's not pleasant.
LA Times, not the Atlantic, not the Atlantic. He wants to be Kanye. Who? Larry? I don't think Larry wants to be Kanye. I don't know about that. What's behind that?
For me to be accused of being anti-black, as Tavis Smiley once called me, because I don't support reparations. By the way, Barack Obama never supported reparations. Nobody called him anti-black.
True.
We need to talk about what's going on. What's going on is the breakdown of the family. And most of the things we complain about downstream, whether it's crime or whether it's bad schools, the genesis is the breakdown of the nuclear intact family, and we don't talk enough about it.
Do you agree that our community is hit harder with a lot of things that you just said, whether it is racism, whether it is getting loans, whether it is getting entrepreneurship, whether it is education, whether it is all those things? You do understand that and agree with that?
I would say yes, but not because of racism, but because of individual choices by a group of individual people.
I do, but much of it is either self-inflicted or because of policies that we have supported, Democrats that we have supported. I wrote a book called, it's coming out in October. It's called As Goes California, My Mission to Rescue the Golden State and Save the Nation. It's about the one-party rule in California. California has supermajorities of Democrats in the Senate and in the House. And as a result, our schools are near the bottom. People are leaving California for the very first time. We have the highest state income tax in the country. The average price of a home in California costs 175% above the national average, all because of these left-wing policies that are hurting the very people, black and brown people living in the inner city, that people on the left claim that they care about.
Do you think slavery was self-inflicted, or do you think Jim Crow segregation was self-inflicted?
I would hope that he would say no here. Like talking about Kanye, like that's some Kanye shit. Like very, very much not. Obviously, it was not self-inflicted. But what a weird question. What is that? What does that mean? Zig says that other guy's look is so rude. Lazy stance. Didn't notice that, but fair enough. Yeah. I mean, how you present yourself really does matter. It really, really, really does.
Or do you think,
slavery was self-inflicted? Of course, it wasn't self-inflicted.
Okay,
but there are a lot of.
Well, I don't know. Like Kanye's black, and he said that, and you're black, and you're in politics, so I just assumed that y'all love Hitler.
What?
This is the level of respect and thought that is going into this. Just like, hey, bro, so like, you like Hitler or what's good? No, all right. You think racism or no? All right. You like schools or no? Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing?
A lot of people have bloody hands in slavery. Mm-hmm. For example, slavery could not have existed had it not been for African chieftains.
Yup.
Who were selling black slaves captured in battle or captured through raids and selling them to European and Arab slavers. It could not have existed without that. So everybody has dirty hands here. That's why reparations is such a foolish thing. Yep. If you're going to get reparations from the 5% or so of white people that have some sort of generational connection to slavery, and that's all there is, then you need to go back to Africa and get money from African countries that were involved in the slave trade and in the Arab slave trade. And by the way, the Arab slave trade was even worse than the European slave trade.
And I don't know this for sure, but isn't it still there's still slavery over in the Arab countries and definitely in Africa. There's still a lot of it going on. So if you're so worried about slavery, maybe you should be a little bit happier that it's not happening to you if you're going to complain about it. Martian Overlord said, did we get written into an old crack magazine? It seems like it. It seems like it. Oh, Daniel Cabrera says, go get your blood diamonds and call it blood money. Yeah, no problem with blinging out, right? That has nothing to do. That has nothing to do with any kind of slavery. You know, I mean, exactly. What? Where is your care for that? Well, they my community. They're specifically and directly your community by your own standards. I agree with you, which is why not that I don't give a shit, but you know, that why I'm not spending time on it. But slavery does not exist here. Unless you want to make the argument that, you know, 13th Amendment allows prisoners, we can have that conversation. But that's not what you're talking about. That's not what you're talking about. Daniel says, in most of the Middle Eastern countries castrate their slaves. What? They don't want a repeat of America. Can't say that's not smart. I mean, it's horrible, but I can't say that's not smart. Damn. 90%
rate of attrition, often making men and women walk on barefoot across the Sahara, and the men were castrated. Only about
Okay,
5.
so if they go after the money from the other countries, then would you agree that it would be okay to go after the money from America? What? Is that your problem?
Am I stupid or is she stupid? Because I don't think that was English. Let's try again.
90% men were castrated. Only about 5.
So if they go after the money from the other countries.
So who's they? If they go after the money from the other countries,
then would you agree that it would be okay to go after the money from America?
Is she asking if the African slave traders got money or were? I think that's what she's asking. Something along the lines of, okay, if we did reparations all the way back to the Slavs, who are white people with blue eyes and blonde hair, which is where the word slave comes from. I think that's what she's asking. She's not a question. She is definitely a question in my mind as to whether or not she is a real person. This seems like an AI facsimile of a real person.
That's your problem.
When are you going to stop with this? Everybody has a grievance.
I just asked a simple question.
I'm answering your question. There you go, Larry Elder. That is what you need to do. When are you going to stop with this bullshit? This is not America. This is the picture that you are painting of America is not the America that I live in. Maybe in your fantastical mind, when you dream about being a victim, maybe that's what happens in your life. But I live in the real world. I live in the United States of America in 2023, and it is goddamn good. That's what you need to say. Any film says, my great-great-grandfather lost a leg fighting against the Confederacy. How much money should I send to Obama for reparations? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And I'm sure that, of course, because you're white, there must have been slave ownership in your family. And this is just, kind of brushing that to the side. This is how they think. This is what they believe. And this is what they are broadcasting. To how many people? 863,000 people watched some of this, at least some of this, in the last 11 days. How do you think those people are going to look at this? I really don't know. I honestly do not know. She's an anonymous entity. No, she's a refrigerator box lady. Nick says, it's funny how it took racist white men to vote to give black men the same right. Then those racist, sexist white men voted to let women vote. Horrible people, weren't they? Yep.
How dare you?
I can't believe they were so bad. Zig says, how far do you go back? You should see what they've done to the natives of Namibia. Yeah, I'm not even familiar with that, but I can imagine it's not fun. I'm just going to take a guess based on your tone. Martian Overlord says most of my blood is European, so I have checks to get from the countries that had serfs. Exactly. The fact that this notion of reparations has gone so far, reparations for Black people specifically, and only, has gone this far, is a complete failure of the Republican Party's rhetoric. How are you not squashing this shit out? In the same way that I say to progressives, lefties, whatever you want to call them, how a year and a half later, they still don't know how to answer the question, what is a woman? And not play right into the hand. It's such low-hanging fruit, but it works. It's almost like when I shout out to David, who was here a couple weeks ago, lefty, talking about why we should be in Ukraine and a lot of different issues coming from the left. And I told him the night before, look, just say anyone who identifies as an adult human female. Just say that. I'm going to ask you the question. And then I asked him the question, and he went on some fucking rant about social stuff and I don't get it. Daniel said the worst the woman didn't even want the vote. Yeah. They were like, I mean, does that mean we got to go to war? Because like we'll just be chilling. But I do think it is like let's not say all of them. There were clearly people who were I mean, it wasn't a unanimous decision, and I do think it is the right decision to have people equal under the law. So it's not obviously we can joke around, but it is a good thing that women got the vote. I mean, you're free to disagree. That's my opinion. But this is true. Melton My Media says the Uyghur Muslims in China is one of the worst forms of slavery in modern time. And whatever is going on in Libya, yeah, we don't know. Talking about, and Yemen's not too much better. I don't know if it's direct slavery, but, I mean, just these third world countries, there's so much going on. And you live in America, you're in a studio. I don't get it.
There's no end. There'll be no end to this because slavery has been part of human history from the very beginning.
Yup.
Okay,
We'd be getting money.
I've let you talk, sir.
Did you though? Did you let him talk? I don't think you did, honey.
Every time I talk, you begin to talk, and then you say, "Let you finish."
All right, let's get the projection. Great projection juice. Love my projection juice. She's not in the studio. She's on the screen. No, she's in a refrigerator box. We've gone over this.
So I asked you a very simple question. You said, if you're going to go after it in America, go after it in Africa. So if we all agree to go after it in Africa, will you then agree to go after it in America? It's just a simple question. Yes or no?
No, I won't, because it's a waste of time. We ought to be spending our time on education.
Next question.
Okay. You told me that I cut you off. Then I tried to answer your question. You won't let me finish.
Go ahead, Larry.
Thank you. It's a waste of time. We ought to be talking about working hard, investing in ourselves. Right now, as we speak, there are Haitians in Haiti lining up for a lottery to come into this country. Why? Because it is the land of the free and the home of the brave. You can go from nothing to something faster in America than any other country in all of human history. We ought to be talking about that. Let me just one more point. 1997, Time Magazine and CNN hooked up together to do a poll on what Black teenagers and white teenagers felt about racism. And both of them were asked, is racism a major problem in America? Both of them said yes. But then Time and CNN asked this question of the Black teenagers. Is racism a big problem, a small problem, or no problem in your own daily life? This is 1997. 89% of them said small problem or no problem in my own daily life. In fact, twice as many Blacks said failure to take advantage of available opportunities is a bigger problem than racism.
Failure to take to take advantage of opportunities is a bigger problem than racism. Has been for a long, long time. And you have a Black man here telling you, like, that's the ultimate qualifier. You're not Black. He's Black. But it doesn't count. And that's exactly it. Like what Zig said, it's a never-ending loop. They just always want more and more and more. And they definitely got me heated. Melton My Media said, how crazy would it be if Larry got up and just turned off the TV? That would be epic. And Africa done it too. Yep. Daniel said, well, look at the Native Americans. We started giving them reparations and we have never stopped. You've got to draw a line at some point. I'm glad we did. Glad we did. Zixit Zimbabwe was a little extreme with their reparations, though. A little bit. Martian said lots of people aren't told about opportunities too often. Oh, they're not. They didn't come to your door and tell you exactly how to live. Guess what? Nobody fucking came to my door and told me how to live. Did anybody come to your door and tell you how to live? And I know that you don't think black people are stupid. So that's not an excuse. Lots of people aren't told about opportunities too often. I agree with you. But that is not an excuse to not be aware of them. It is your job to educate yourself. It is your job to do whatever you can. And it's not like you have to walk through the desert. It's a fucking Google search. And again, I'm not scolding you, Martian. I'm just saying, like, I agree with you, but that's an excuse. That's an excuse. There is nothing that is not available to you with this. Nothing. Whether you're told about it or not. Exactly, Melody. You're not told about opportunities. You seek them.
1997. Look it up.
It's 2023, though.
You think America's more racist now after the election and re-election of Barack Obama than it was in 1997?
Yes, because of the election of MAGA, Donald Trump, 100%. Yeah,
okay, all right. So stick on that. If I'm Larry, I'm like, oh yes, let's go. Okay, I accept your premise. It's more racist now because of Donald Trump. Please explain. And I would sit back and watch you lose your entire fucking audience. Because I would sit back and I would chill and I'd let you say whatever you got to say. You'd be like, okay, let me tell you a little story about reality. That's what Larry needs to do. But again, man, it's all well and good. It's all well and good if I get heated. It's all well and good if I get heated. But he can't. There's a difference between fired up and heated. Heated means you mad. Fired up means you're passionate. But he seems to just not be. He's not riding the wave. He's not riding the wave that's there. I'm not a surfer, but I have to imagine that if you're surfing, then the wave is going to be different than any other wave. And you can't treat it like the last wave or the next wave. You have to ride the wave that is in front of you. You are on the Breakfast Club. You are not on Fox News. So act accordingly. Marcia said, no, I had an easy time watching. What I'm speaking of is the underfunded, overcrowded schools. Yeah, I agree with you. At no point do I disagree with you. I'm just saying it's not an excuse. Shout out to Lil Toes. Welcome to the party, brother. Good to see ya. Any Film says Native Americans need to get off the reservations to save themselves. The reservations are chains.
Bingo.
Yep. Any kind of government assistance, any kind of crutch is going to be a crutch. Yeah, Orange Man bad. Orange Man bad. Yeah, Daniel's right there with you. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Well, how is it, Charlamagne, that Donald Trump got 8% of the black vote in 2016? He got 12% in 2020, a 50% increase. He got 20% of the black male vote in 2020. If MAGA is racist, how do you explain that Donald Trump substantially increased the percentage of black votes Republican Party got?
Sometimes people make.
So why are you running against Trump then, Mr. Elder?
Hold up. He's like, he was about to say sometimes people make bad decisions. I would agree, but I wouldn't call voting for Trump one of those bad decisions. I would, pretty much put everything else that is associated with the black community as a bad decision. And that's y'all's fault. I didn't create what the black community means. I do not talk about the black community outside of whatever I hear other black people saying. That's on y'all. Lilto says, thoughts on Trump's mugshot? Gangster as fuck. That is how you make a return to Twitter. That is how you spin a story. Now, there's everybody in the country wants that mugshot on a t-shirt, Indie Film. Everybody in the country wants that mugshot on a t-shirt. That is how you do it. That is how you do it.
Yeah,
I'm not running against him. I'm running against Biden Harris. Any one of the Republican nominees we have would be better than what we have right now. I'm not running against him. I'm running to put forth the issues I just now mentioned that I've been talking about for the last few minutes.
I want to ask you about that. After 4 indictments, 91
About time.
criminal charges, don't you think it would behoove the Republican Party to move on from Donald Trump?
Nope.
I think that the voters in the primary will make that decision.
What the real question should be is, why do you think, despite the fact that all of the presidents are dipshit, lying, criminal people, that only now are we going after a president? No? Didn't think about that? Of course you didn't.
What do you think, though?
I have no problem with I thought Donald Trump did an extraordinary job as president, especially for black people. Best economy ever. He did something about the borders. The people that are most hurt because of porous borders are black people living in the inner city, because most of the illegal aliens have little or no education. They end up living in the inner city. They compete against black people with high school or less for jobs. There are about 1 million fewer black people working than who would otherwise be working if it weren't for illegal alien labor. And illegal alien labor, according to a study done by the Civil Rights Commission, puts downward pressure to the tune of almost $2,000 per year on the salaries of black people living in the inner city. And
bam! It's the illegal aliens.
Donald Trump gave us the most secure border we ever had. He also supported school choice. He also did the First Step Act, which allowed about 5,000 mostly black men with long criminal sentences, nonviolent, to have their sentences reduced an average of 70 months per. He pardoned Jack Johnson, the first black heavyweight champion. Even Barack Obama didn't do that.
Yeah,
he did an extraordinary.
Even Obama didn't do that. And Mother Mamia said, just out today by Fox polls, Trump's black voters odds are up 11% from 2016. And this poll was before the mugshot. Implication, if I'm understanding you correctly, is that with everybody loving the mugshot, and especially if you've ever taken a mugshot, when you see somebody else who's taking a mugshot, it's just like, all right, maybe this guy's, I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying what it is. That people are going to associate that in the same way that people made fun of him for putting ketchup on his steak, and all the poor people who can't afford good cuts of meat burn the shit out of their steak because they have to, and they put ketchup on it because otherwise it'll taste like shit. Like, oh, you liberal elites, you look down on us. He does what I do that. You're making fun of him, so you're making fun of me. Same thing. Same thing is going to happen with the mugshot. They're going to see like, oh, okay, like he's down for the cause. He's a ride or die motherfucker. That's what we need. I don't need a buddy. I need somebody who's going to explain things nice. I need somebody who's going to ride or die for my country. Martian Overlord said I couldn't justify voting for Donald, but my gas prices went down and I had to start driving the kids to school. Yep, I also couldn't justify voting for Donald Trump in 2020, but you're damn sure I'm going to do it this time, unless he's disqualified and we can get Vivek, in which case I'm not going to be mad about that. Anyboom said Trump spent how many years in business in New York City? A very public figure, and it's not until he runs for president, becomes president, that he's labeled a criminal and persecuted. True, but I mean, you know, there's a lot of rich, liberal, elite people doing business in New York. So the fact that, like, yes, he was a very public figure more than those people, but he was, you know, especially for people like me, he wasn't like taken as a serious person, especially not like a president. So, I mean, you know, that part makes sense, but it's very obvious what happened. It's like he was Trump then. He was Trump when he was running. He was Trump when he was president, and he's Trump now. They didn't think they need to worry about Trump when he was hosting The Apprentice. Then all along, Nick says, Tom McDonald is making shirts with Trump's mugshot on it. He did a shot showing that. Really? Well, if Indie Film checks his email, then we will have an even better one. But you got to check your email, bro. Like, ASAP. Zig said, Elder must have been so heartbroken he didn't get asked to the dance. He also sounds sad. Shame, poor guy. So no, this was 2 weeks ago. Not quite. This was 11 days ago. So this is before this was after he already qualified with the 3 polls and the 40,000 donors. So in his mind, he was on the stage already. It wasn't until after this interview that they decided that Rasmussen wasn't a legitimate poll. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. But so if it's before the mugshot and it's at 11% higher than 2016, and then there's the mugshot, it's going to go up even more. Martian Overlord says, please remember that I'm a global write-in. Any ballot, anywhere. Fair enough. Fair enough. Zig says Trump was in Home Alone 2 as well. Yep, I remember that. For how can I put you? What? Speak English.
Ordinary job for black people.
I think you're innocent until proven guilty, but I feel like President Biden had 4 indictments, 91 criminal charges. President Obama had 4 indictments, 91 criminal charges. Y'all would be telling them that they need to step aside and they shouldn't be running for president.
Well,
I agree. If we're going to use that standard, let's get them all out of there. But we didn't. So now the burden of proof is on you to come up with a reason as to why we are going to change what we've been doing and start doing it now.
Well, I wouldn't vote for Barack Obama or for Joe Biden in any case, no matter whether he had indictments or no indictments. I don't vote for tax spend, regulate liberals.
You're a conservative, right? Obviously.
No question.
What initially made you gravitate towards being a conservative?
I think it was my father. My father was a lifelong Republican, and my father always told my brothers and me the following. Democrats want to give you something for nothing. When you're trying to get something for nothing, you almost always end up getting nothing for something. And my dad, I told you about his background. He told my brothers and me that hard work wins. You get out of life what you put into it. You cannot control the outcome, Larry, but you are 100% in control of the effort. Before you moan or groan about what somebody did or said to you, go to the nearest mirror, look at it, and ask yourself, what could I have done to change the outcome? Bingo. And finally, Charlamagne, my dad, told my brothers and me this. No matter how hard you work, how good you are, sooner or later, bad stuff is going to happen to you. How you deal with those bad things will tell your mother and me if we raised a man.
How you deal with the bad things that happen to you will determine if you've been raised to be a real man. I think sitting around and making an entire platform, an entire show about whining about shit that happened to people that aren't me, not real manly, if I say so myself. I don't know about you guys, but not real manly.
I wrote a book about my father's life. It's called Dear Father, Dear Son, 2 Lives, 8 Hours. It's about an 8-hour conversation he and I had, where at the beginning of the conversation, I thought my dad was harsh. He thought he spanked us too often. We had a belt. In those days, from the South, you spank kids. And I thought my dad was way too harsh. And we had an 8-hour conversation. And by the time we ended, my dad got bigger and bigger and bigger, and Larry Elder got smaller and smaller and smaller. And I apologized to him. And it's a book that's changed a lot of people's lives. It's called, as I said, Dear Father, Dear Son, 2 Lives, 8 Hours. The paperback is called A Lot Like Me. Same book.
Yep.
But it's cheaper.
Can you honestly say this is the Republican Party that you grew up on?
No, thank goodness. No, thank goodness it's not. Because the Republican Party we grew up on was a bunch of stogie old theocrats who are mostly still in Congress, pushing the inverse of the bullshit that your party is pushing right now. So no, thankfully, it's a new party. Same as the Democrats. They were the ones, they were the party of science. They were the party of free speech. They were the big pharma, the military-industrial complex. And now go all the way down the list in every single position that you had as a Democrat in 2014 is inverted. Inverted.
Modern day GOP.
Yes. The Republican Party pretty much has always stood for low taxes, low regulation, peace through strength, not strength through peace, and strong borders, and still does. And when Donald Trump is gone, and he will be gone, even if he gets reelected, day after he gets reelected, he's a lame duck.
So yeah, I mean, technically, they were the Dixiecrats at the time, right? But I mean, it was the left wing of the political spectrum. Martian Overlord said it's sad that you have to be lucky to really know your father anymore. Yeah, shout out to Papa Lutch. I mean, some people out here saying that I'm a trust fund baby. I wish. But I want to shout out to Papa Lutch for not making me a trust fund baby, for giving me the opportunity to have strife in my life, to be able to understand that despite the fact that he worked very hard to provide a good life, and that my siblings and I were lucky to not have to deal with the typical, let's say, the typical immigrant experience of coming from nothing, even though they did. my parents. They went through it and provided a different life. But at the same time, taught me the values that have turned me into the man I am today. So shout out to Dr. Papa Lutch and anybody else like him. Zig says, even the colors, I believe, were switched. What do you mean, like blue and red? I mean, there was never a switch. Like, things change over time, but there's nobody else. It's not like they met up and like, all right, we're the Dixiecrats, but we're gonna be the Republicans now, and you guys be the Democrats. Like, that didn't happen. And I believe it did for a long time before I actually talked to somebody who was smarter than myself. Any Film says, I don't think the parties have changed as much as you think. The Democrats are still the racists. Republicans are still a party of small government, even though the Republican politicians are not. Maybe. I mean, that's fair. I definitely, haven't been into politics long enough to see more than one change. So what I think of the Republican Party is the 90s and the early 2000s, and that's it. So maybe not, but like, the principles have not changed, but the way that people act, the rhetoric, the propaganda, the position on a lot of big issues, the being the right side of history, that all that stuff is very different. That was never, you could never be a Trump supporter saying that you're on the right side of history. Not that you would say that, because that's a fucking stupid thing to say that lefties do, but you know what I mean. You would never talk about not mutilating children, and because you're doing it because you want to be on the right side of history. That mentality of going along with the group, that mentality of pushing away the value of individualism. That I don't know. Yeah, I guess you're right. But it's certainly, yeah, like I said, it's certainly changed how it manifests.
The party will still go on. The principles will still go on. However, I do believe that many people in our party have spent so that Ronald Reagan, my favorite president, when he entered the Oval Office, Charlamagne, when he left, government was bigger. It got bigger under George Herbert Walker Bush. It got bigger under W. It got bigger under Donald Trump. And the only way to restrain spending is with an amendment to the Constitution to fix spending to a certain percentage of the GDP, with exception for war and for natural disaster. Otherwise, we're going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Let me use the word unsustainable. That's the word Barack Obama used to describe the so-called entitlements. Unsustainable was a word that Bill Clinton used to describe them. But nothing happens, because if you run claiming you're going to reform Social Security or Medicare, the other side is going to accuse you of not caring about the sick, the poor, the elderly, and you are going to lose elections. That's why government gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So we need a law to restrain spending. Otherwise, it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And for young people like you, these programs are not going to be there.
Let me ask you. Actually, let's make this into a poll, because as much as I love a fast talker, you're speaking my language when you can speak like that. But I know, I did a community post where I was like, do you guys ever speed videos up or whatever? So let's just say, so I'm going to ask, are Larry's points landing with you despite how fast he speaks? And be honest. Don't just say, because he's, the other side is Democrat. I want to know, because I kind of feel like it's very, I don't know what the word is, but it's monotonous a little bit. She's like, well, I think the bigger people for the younger people, and this and that, and the better programs, and that's not how racism works. You think about go back to 1987, and I don't know how many, you guys so far were saying yes. We got 4 people saying yes. We got Indie Film saying yes. So okay, cool, word up. I feel like a lot of people might get a little lost in the minutia of what he's saying, because they just can't keep up. And he says, I like to get drunk and slow videos down. Remind me to never drink with you and when we're going to watch YouTube. I would. Oh,
Mr. Elder,
sir,
I know a lot of Black conservatives, and I
a lot of Black conservatives, really? Name them. I don't think you know any black conservatives that you haven't seen on YouTube. Zig says Southern Democrats adopted a pro-slavery platform. Yep. And Amontin Foe said they don't have nearly the impact they could have, though. That's what I was getting at. That, like, you know, punch in the points, the bottom line. What is the bottom line? You're saying all the right things, but in a different way than Ron DeSantis. You're kind of just it's just a stream of things. Yeah, right. And come on, bring it up. Like, sir, I'm reclaiming my time. The gentleman reclaims his time. The gentleman shall not speak. I don't know. It's so like I don't know why they do that, but it's weird. But yeah, I mean, I definitely think that if he were to slow down a little bit and really focus on the broadcasting aspect of his points, it's not like he's not used to talking to people. It's not like he's not used to being broadcasting his voice. So it strikes me as a little odd. Zig says most white Southerners opposed radical Reconstruction and the Republican Party's support of black civil and political rights. Just with a slight Google. Melton My Media said that's the bottom line because Larry Elder said so. All right. Okay. All right.
I completely agree about the black family. I don't think anybody here objects to that.
Then why were you objecting earlier?
Agree about that at all.
I think when you talk about ideology and then you mix in parties and then personalities, it gets kind of confusing. And, you know, you mentioned yourself not to moan and groan, you know, that as long as you work hard, all is well. And I think where the conflict is coming in is you did moan and groan about how the Republicans treated you. You did moan and groan about Governor Newsom and, asking for a recall. You did not leave that up to the voters.
She got a point. Let's see how he handles the adversity.
Are moaning and groaning when it comes to Donald Trump and how he's being treated. So it just seems to be a hypocrisy. And I don't know if the message would land a little bit better if there was some fairness across the board on Democrats and Republicans. I'm an independent, by the way, and I think both parties are trash. And I think all of us here, see both sides. And that's the part that's just not landing for me.
Oh, you guys see both sides, but Larry doesn't? Projection juice. I need a longer one. I need a better one for rejection juice. We're gonna get a rejection juice, projection juice song. We're gonna work on it.
There seems to be an unfairness on both sides with you.
So just let you know, we are 38 minutes exactly into a 1 hour, and we are after the 2 hour mark. So if you would like to make sure that we finish the whole thing, you know how to keep the party raging.
Well, not too surprisingly, I don't agree with your analysis. How is it that I did not leave the recall to the voters? What do you mean by that?
What do you?
You said I didn't leave the recall to the voters.
No. I said you moaned and groaned about it. You said it should be recalled, correct? Correct?
I said Gavin Newsom should have been recalled, yes.
Right, that's moaning and groaning.
Well,
Is it though? I don't think so. I think that's just having an opinion.
actually, it's taking advantage of what's in the California Constitution, which is when a certain percentage of voters sign a petition to recall a politician, there can be a recall vote, and there was one, as there was in 2003. We recalled the governor then, and there was in 2021 when I attempted to recall Gavin Newsom. That's part of our democratic process in California.
Absolutely.
But that means that I'm right.
What?
Wait a minute. You're telling me you are telling me that she's not married? No, come on. I'm with Dan. Not a surprise at all. Hey, shout out to Unwanted Foe. Thank you for the $2 super chat. Said, sir, would you like an extension on your extended warranty? Where am I? All right, let's see if we can get him to eat. I think we can do it. Morty. Come on, get it, boy. Get it. Yummy. Yeah, there we go. Thank you so much. Very, very, very much appreciated. All right, let's back this up a little bit.
21 when I attempted to recall Gavin Newsom. That's part of our democratic process in California.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We agree with that. I'm going to your statement when you said rather than moan about it a little while ago, you said rather than moan about it, I'm just going to keep doing the hard work. And so I'm just saying that technically is moaning about it because the governor's decided. So that's my point, sir.
I don't follow.
No. Speaking your opinion is not moaning about it. What you do is, oh, this is systemic racism and we can't do anything because we're so bad. That's moaning and groaning.
Well, I don't follow exactly what you're saying. I really don't.
It's okay. I didn't
Okay.
expect you to.
Yeah,
but it's
I'm
one moment.
I'm a little slow
one
sometimes.
moment. One moment. Yeah, we get it.
Yeah.
One moment you're
Imagine thinking that you have a presidential candidate in front of you and be like, oh, well, I don't get it. I'm slow sometimes. And you think that you're in the position to get uppity about it. We not only need a projection song for projection drinks, but we need a self-awareness song.
Stupid.
Daniel says attempting to get Gavin Newsom recalled is not moaning and groaning. Of course not. That's putting in work to get what you want done. Exactly. What is she talking
complaining about the system, and the next minute you're saying the system is fair, the next minute you're saying it's not fair. So that's what I'm saying. There just seems to be a double standard.
No, you're just too stupid to understand nuance. Just because you're not speaking positively of something does not equate to moaning and groaning. When you have an issue and a solution and a plan to connect the two, that's just called politics. When you look out at the world and you don't do any type of research or anything, and you just come up with a conclusion that here is the problem and we don't have a solution, but you're wrong, that is moaning and groaning.
On you and the system, not wanting to be accountable for a system that Black people are not in charge of, by the way, of not wanting to hold both sides accountable when it comes to the system.
Yep, and you know what they say about and this is coming from Black creators, so don't come at me, but Black creators will say a Black woman will say be submissive like that to her boss. But to any other man, what's different about your boss? I'm independent. I don't need no man except the one that signs my checks. Zig says this is her audition. That's why all these views and words. I guess. I
believe Hillary was treated differently and Joe Biden treated differently than Donald Trump is being treated. Yes, I do. Is that an indictment about whether or not America is systemically racist? No, it is not. Those are
They're two totally different things.
Yes,
exactly. They are two totally different things that you are conflating.
You're trying to merge the two, but they're two totally different things.
I agree with you.
You're trying to merge the two.
The two different things.
Oh, wait. We missed it. All right. Projection juice.
We're agreeing. We're agreeing. They're two different things. We're agreeing.
No, we're agreeing the two different things. We're not agreeing that there's not systematic racism because we're not in charge of the system, sir. In case you
all right. Can we?
Black people have never been in charge of any system. We're not
actually we have been.
Take Baltimore.
No, we've never been in charge of
may I finish?
Tell me what financial system are Black people in charge of?
Oh, now it's got to be a financial system. Before, you didn't say the word financial. You just said Black people have never been leading a system. I'm going to hold my tongue.
What healthcare system are Black people in charge of?
I'm going to hold my tongue.
What government system are Black people in charge of?
I'm about ready to tell you.
What prison system are Black people in charge?
I'm about ready to tell you.
I'm not talking about mayors. I already know that talking point, sir. I go on Fox News all the time as well. So let's not go there with that. I said, what system have we created?
Goodness.
Have we implemented that we have been in charge of? Name one.
So again, if I'm Larry Elder, then you have to shift off. You have to shift off of this premise that in order for the country to not to be systemically racist, there has to be a healthcare or financial or some type of institutional system that Black people are in charge of, whatever that means. I don't accept that is what it means to have a country that is not systemically racist. So he needs to challenge the premise of the question to begin with. Obviously, she's not letting him talk and say anything, but that's where it needs to go. Did I miss that one? Yeah, but Indie Film says Black people have never been in charge of the system. Wasn't Obama in charge of at least one system and maybe kind of I don't think so, bro. I think you got your history mixed up. Obama? You mean Alabama? I don't. What do you mean? Why are we here? What are we talking about? Jalen said she threw them goalposts. She knew he was going to be able to rebut that shit. Yup. And Nick saw it too. You guys are starting to see it. I'm starting to. Oh, man. You guys are getting it. I love it. Unwanted Foe said because you're not in charge, it's racist. That doesn't make any sense. Discrepancy does not mean discrimination. Let's see if he can wrangle this back. Because again, the lens that I'm viewing this through is you're in a room with some again, I mean, is uppity a racist word? Because they're being uppity. That's what it is. So I'm sorry, but I got in trouble for saying that somebody who was well-spoken was articulate because they were black. Apparently that's racist, but fuck me, right? Find a different word then. But you're in a room of three uppity people. One's not really talking. One's a woman not even in the room. And I mean, you're handling yourself, but you're kind of getting shook. Yeah, no, we got that. And Dan's like, well, that doesn't count. Obama had to bound down the Congress and the Senate, which is full of white people. That's probably where they would go. Indie Film says, wait, she's saying, quote, what system has black people created that they've been in charge? What the hell are you talking about? Go make a system and then be in charge of it, girl boss. That's what the fuck I'm talking about. Let's go. Comment of the night to Indie Film. Not only the sponsor, but the comment of the night. Gang, brother.
Is this why you don't like talking to black women, Larry Elder?
Yeah.
Wow. Baltimore. Freddie Gray a few years ago.
No. That's mayors. No. I'm not talking. I said system.
I'm going to tell you about this system if you allow me to finish my point.
I'm not talking about somebody elected and doing a job, sir. I asked what system did we create? What financial
Okay, let's talk about the system of one of the largest. Thank you.
Sir.
One of the systems of one of the largest cities in America, Baltimore. Freddie Gray died in police custody a few years ago. The mayor was black. The head of the police department was black. Number two.
It's not in charge of the system, but go ahead.
Number two person in charge of the police department was black. All of city council, Democrats, majority black.
Still not in charge of the system.
Wow.
That's a position.
6 officers charged, 3 of them were black. A judge before whom 2 of the officers tried their case, found him not guilty, was black.
Still not in charge of the system.
The city intendant of public schools was black. The county superintendent of public schools was black. The attorney general at the time, Loretta Lynch, is black, as was the president of the United States, was black. And yet
still not in charge of the system. I asked you a simple question, sir.
Well, Wanda Sykes said when Barack Obama got elected, how are you going to complain about the man when you are the man? Now, from the president to the attorney general to the state attorney to the mayor to the head of the police department to the commission of the schools in the city and in the county to the majority of city council in that city, all of them are black. And you're still saying that we don't run anything?
So who's in charge of the system?
No. I said who created the system. I didn't say we didn't run anything. I challenged a lot of those black leaders, by the way. I said who.
Oh, you challenged the black leaders. Oh, okay. Oh, that changes everything. She challenged black leaders. Wow. Zig says, do you think she's just a contrarian for elders' views no matter what Larry does? Yep. That's exact. I mean, yeah. True. Not sure the relevance, but okay. Unwanted Foe said POTUS isn't in charge of the system to her.
When we talk about the system, what black people have been in charge of any system? I'm not talking about a position. I'm not talking about a mayor. You know good and well what I'm talking about.
So then you need to define what a system is, because clearly nobody knows what the fuck you're talking about.
Basically
Mr.
saying that they're
So-
just they're black faces that are still in
So-
those
Correct.
positions, but they're
so-
still being a
Correct.
part of the
Similar to
system.
you, Mr.
So-
Elder.
so-
You're
so-
a black face in a position in the conservative movement. They're just the same. They're just on the other side. I'm talking about.
So
we
then,
have
so then,
never
so
been in
then, so
charge
then,
of
when
the
Martin Luther
system.
King said in 1966, I believe there could be a black president in about 40 years' time, then it really doesn't matter if there's one or isn't.
No,
It's
yeah,
one because
No, it doesn't matter because it's a system. You get okay? It's a system. That's not a system. It's not a system. Okay? I'm just gonna keep saying system like that. System. It's a system. A system. Did I win yet? No? A little more? System. It's a system. The system. This is literally the level of intellect that's happening with this woman. It's been clear from the beginning to me. Like we were talking about how like that's her job to come in and talk shit and not have a good faith conversation and try to shake him off his game. And again, I said she's doing a good job at that, but that doesn't mean she's not a shitty person for taking that job. Mother Mind Media said this chick single-handedly destroyed any chances of me watching The Breakfast Club. Just saying. If you want the black community to be looked at like this, then keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. Daniel said, look at the comment before that one. Before what one? Okay. So, all right. That doesn't count. Obama had to bow down to Congress and Senate, which is full of white people. Oh, wait. Still don't know what the fuck you're talking about, bro. Okay. Any film said, what the F is she talking about? Thank God this lady is not my neighbor. She could be. She could be. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. We definitely can do that. That's what we're watching, The Breakfast Club. Yep. Let's finish this up. As long as we, we still got a while to go. So if we can get there, then we definitely will.
So nothing changes. He was naive.
The
He was
system also
naive then.
killed him as well. Well, we know that the FBI and the CIA also killed him. That system. You realize that, correct?
Wow.
Wow, that's not a good wow. That's not a good wow. You definitely need something strong to follow up here.
An individual killed him.
Right. That was also a part of Pro Hotel through the system. Correct?
Yeah.
Not correct.
Pro.
Not correct.
How?
He was
Okay.
So the
killed.
FBI didn't have anything to do with it. The CIA didn't have anything to do with
J.
it.
Edgar Hoover was definitely on Martin's ass. Like, come on.
I didn't say he wasn't.
Oh.
Robert Kennedy is the one that approved the wiretaps. But to say that the FBI killed him, I mean, what's your evidence of that?
Oh no,
That's pretty serious.
The magic bullet. I don't even know a lot about the ins and outs of it. Yeah, bro. This is the infamous Breakfast Club. This is the infamous Charlamagne the God. This guy over here, Charlamagne the God. The God. Named himself a god. Sits in a fucking golden throne. And does this.
Charge.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Pretty serious charge.
Yeah.
Serious charge
Yeah, I
requires
was talking
serious
about the
evidence.
Yeah.
What is your
Meanwhile-
Meanwhile, Vivek is like, let's get rid of the FBI, the CIA, the FDA, the EPA, all of them. Let's get rid of them. I'm just saying, as much as I'm not going to watch The Breakfast Club, I'm also probably not really going to follow Larry Elder. You're not doing terrible here, but this is The Breakfast Club. This is not, this is level one. This is level one. Dana said, what is Charlamagne even famous for other than this show? I don't think he is. I mean, he's just been a radio host. I think Power 105 is a long-standing syndicated new radio station that is broadcast all over, and I'm sure they have the Sirius XM whatever connection. And so this is just, it's on BET. This is the culture. This is what it is. But I don't like it, so I'm racist. Andy Film says, why the Breakfast Club culturally appropriate their name from a bunch of white suburban kids? That is racist. How dare they? Molly Ringwald is the true. She's the true lady in the refrigerator box, all right? Be stealing from a whites. Martian Overlord says politics requires a lot of verbal dancing. Yep. And he's not failing. He's just not impressing me. That's it. He's not failing at all. He's just not impressing me. Six says Charlamagne even stole the name Breakfast Club. Breakfast Crib would actually sound smarter. I agree with you. Yeah. Yes. Yep. He's the Black Howard Stern. Absolutely. 100%. That's it. He's the Black Howard Stern. Leonard Larry the Grift. I don't think it's a grift. Everybody throws that word around. It's not a grift. Like, this is what grifting is, when you think a thing and you say a different thing for the purpose of making money. When you're just dumb, when you're just ignorant, when you're just you, and then people pay you money for that, that's not grifting. Nobody's grifting in this room. That room. Nobody's grifting there. They're all just stupid. Maybe, I mean, sure. If it comes up to, if you want to talk about the history of rap and hip hop and music in general, sure, I'm sure they would probably know more than me. Probably, maybe. Exactly. Bring it up, Mel. Come on, StreamYard. He ain't grifting. He's just ignorant. So many people are. That's why I hate when this word grift, grifting, grifter, this gets thrown around. As if everybody who's out here saying stupid shit is smart enough to say something else. Excuse me. You remember the old George Carlin bit? Think about how stupid half of the people are in the world. Half of the people you've ever met are at least average. The rest of the people are dumber than, or there's just as many people who are dumber than that, as we can see. Martian Overlord says, if you watch the movie The Stupids, you get a good show of 2023 politics. It's similar to, what's that movie? To, what am I thinking of? Idiocracy. There we go. So it says, Leonard is the culture, according to Leonard. Yep, exactly. Melted My Media said, yeah, let's stop grifting by talking to Peter Prigozhin. All right, St. Michael. Good job. Good job. Yeah, I mean, it's very simple. That, like, if you're just saying things that you think, that's not grifting. That's not what that means.
It is to allow states to set up commissions of retired judges and retired DAs to get rid of these soft on crime George Soros-backed DAs that are allowing a bunch of bad people on the streets. There
it is. We found it. Ladies and gentlemen, we found it. Charlatan the God. Charlatan the God. Even though we just went over how he's not a grifter, it fits because it's funny. Comedy over everything. Ziggs with, let's see. I mean, original comment of the night. I got to stick with this. Ziggs, you get number 2, but good one.
Are not charging bad people to the full extent of the law, and the people that, by and large, that are hurt by these people are the very black and brown people living in the inner city. There's a
I'm just gonna make a sound because I don't know what to say, so I'm gonna make it sound like I'm agreeing with you in some respect.
Larry Krasner is a George Soros-backed DA in Philadelphia. He's been impeached, but this Philadelphia State Senate wouldn't even take up the case. We've had 2 attempts to repeal a soft on crime DA in LA County, and it hasn't gone through yet. We've got a bunch of, in my opinion, this guy, Alvin Bragg, he ran promising to get Donald Trump, and when he got in.
Alvin Bragg is the guy, if you remember the story, where the girl went into the convenience store, didn't have enough money to pay for a bag of chips. So she goes out, gets her man from outside the store. I don't know if she went home. I don't know the time frame. Dude comes back, goes behind the counter, starts beating up a 60-year-old man. Luckily, I think it's Jose Alba was his name. Luckily, he was able to, within reach, to reach a box cutter and shank the motherfucker. And unfortunately, he died. I don't want people to die, but if you're going to attack people, what do you expect? And Alvin Bragg charged Jose Alba, a 60-year-old man who was actively being attacked by somebody who was trying to rob him. New York City.
He said the evidence wasn't there, and then one of the former DAs writes a book, accuses Bragg of giving Donald Trump a pass, and all of a sudden, he brings counts against Donald Trump. I think it's unfair.
Do you think members of your party are leaning toward fascism?
And again, even so, this is the other type of stuff that you guys got to listen to. Remember, we're not just we're not just listening to hear what they're saying. We're looking at the other aspects of the conversational dynamics and how it plays to everything else. Larry just made a long but poignant point, and watch what Charlamagne does in response to that.
He ran promising to get Donald Trump, and when he got in, he said the evidence wasn't there. And then one of the former DAs writes a book, accuses Bragg of giving Donald Trump a pass, and all of a sudden he brings counts against Donald Trump. I think it's unfair.
Okay, so that's a hefty statement. There's a lot there. So let's see how Charlamagne decides to engage with what he's just said.
Do you think members of your party are leaning toward fascism?
Do you think members of your party are leaning towards fascism?
What?
Do I need to be here for this? Or are you just gonna be like what? Are we having a conversation or not? Yeah, like how dare you defend yourself? And Daniel, a little strong, coming in and said, "Sorry, I disagree. I don't think it's unfortunate. He played a stupid game that was and won a stupid prize. His lifeblood draining out. I don't disagree with you." But I think when people die, it's unfortunate. I value life. Am I saying that it was wrong of Jose Alba? No, of course not. But it is unfortunate when people lose their lives. That's why you shouldn't play stupid games, because you will win the stupid prize of your lifeblood draining out. That doesn't make it a good thing. Nick says that pisses you off as much as it. Yeah. Yup. Shout out to Melted Mind Media, Sleepy Boy over here. Thank you for hanging out, brother. Definitely, guys, please go check out his channel. I just dropped the link in the chat. You have a good one, brother. Zig says it's what Guantek was speaking about. Say more, homie. Say more. I don't know. We talk about a lot of stuff.
Define fascism.
Authoritarianism.
Define fascism.
I mean, the rejection of democracy, the rule of law, and equal rights under the law in favor of a strong man, Donald Trump, who interprets the popular will.
That's not what fascism means.
No, I don't. There was a long article about Barack Obama by one of my mentors. His name is Thomas Sowell. He's an economist, he's a black conservative, still alive, around 95 years old. And he wrote a piece in which he said a lot of people call people like Barack Obama socialist. Socialism is government ownership of the means of production. Fascism is when the government allows you to own means of production, but government tells you what to do. And he said, frankly, technically, people like Barack Obama are fascists. That is to say, these are left-wing people telling you how to run your business, telling you what to sell, telling you what you can't sell. For example, in California, we have a governor named Gavin Newsom, who recently said by the year 2035, no more sale of new gas-powered cars.
Beta!
How dare you?
Beta!
Most people don't want any.
Fair enough, Dan. Fair enough.
They like their own gasoline-powered cars, but now you're telling car dealerships they can't even sell them? What do you call that?
Fascism.
When you tell women what to do with their bodies.
Oh, you want to go down that road? That was a good retort. Larry, you got it. I mean, that's a good one. Because again, you have to put your mind in put yourself in the mind of the listener. This is how they think of you controlling and telling women what to do with their bodies, not a different body. So let's say, come on, Larry, this is a layup. This is a layup. I know you get shook by the lady in the refrigerator box, but this is a layup. Daniel said, how about when you made me get the jab? My body, my choice, F-wad. Yeah. That would also be a great response, but I kind of feel like he's going to drop the ball. I don't know.
Well, that is a moral issue. I happen to be pro-life, and I believe that that abortion is a sin. That's not telling women what to do with their body. That's expressing my opinion about whether or not it is right or it is wrong. For example.
Oh, okay. So he's going to give an example, but it has to come back to the idea of it's not her body. What about your party? That what Daniel was just talking about. What about your party? There's no other life involved. Let's talk about that. That is where you need to go with this.
There is a guy right now behind bars in Philadelphia named Dr. Kermit Gosnell. He is an abortion doctor who performed late-term abortions. When I ask people who consider my position to be
Hey, whoa. We won't be talking about short people here, especially if they're taller than me. I don't know how tall he is, but probability says.
extreme, I ask them, tell me at what point do you believe pregnancy has gone so far that to terminate the unborn would be homicide? And almost
Never.
nobody will give you an answer. So in other words, what you're really telling me then is this guy, Dr. Kermit Gosnell, should be set free. He's a political prisoner. He was persecuted unfairly. If you won't tell me when you think at what point a pregnancy cannot be terminated unless it's homicide, then to me you're essentially allowing women to kill the unborn, no matter how old that unborn is. And I think that's wrong. The other thing, Charlamagne, real quickly on this issue.
That's also what you have to do, is when you make your point, especially if you're speaking the way that he is, and so they're not expecting long pauses, is you have to tie your statements together and not give them the opportunity to jump in and say their BS. So notice how he made his point, and then he strung together. He said more things before. We don't know what he's going to say next, but he still has the floor because he did this.
Then to me, you're essentially allowing women to kill the unborn, no matter how old that unborn is.
So that's his point, I think, right?
And I think that's wrong.
Okay, so that's his point.
The other thing, Charlamagne, real quickly on this issue.
The other thing, really quickly on this issue, just saying that lets everybody know that you're still talking. That ain't necessarily going to stop them from we gonna fact check this because there is no way he is shorter than me. But it doesn't mean that they're not going to jump in. But you have grabbed the floor, and by the etiquette of discussion, like, excuse me, I'm still talking. If you don't, then that's their opportunity. So let's see. How tall is Charlotte? Come on. There we go. Why you get my hopes up? Why you get my hopes up, bro? I knew it. I fucking knew it. There's no way. People are not shorter than me. There are no people shorter than me. Nick says, yeah, us short people don't need to get kicked when we're down. We're already close to the ground.
What?
Whoa. Meant to give you the laugh. Aren't you? You're not short. Aren't you, like, tall? It's the Asian curse. Yep. Got you by 2 inches. In my world, yeah, there's people who are getting their legs torn apart for 2 inches.
It'd be one thing if the pro-life community was not talking the talk and walking the walk. But there are literally thousands of pregnancy centers all over America, whether it's funding for...
No, he's not 1 foot and 68 inches. No, I don't know how that operates. That's an obvious American joke. In the same way that I don't know time zones because I live in the New York time zone. I don't know metric system.
Or
unless we talking about you know what I mean?
Adoption services, funding for housing, funding for education, funding for job training, to let women know they have alternatives. And every state will decide this. The government shouldn't be passing some sort of law one way or the other regarding abortion. Every state's going to decide that. I'm in California, which is a deep blue state. There have been 2 initiatives to restrict abortion. I voted in favor of them. I was overwhelmingly defeated. And when abortion has been put on the ballot in recent years, the people that wanted abortion restrictions have lost. The American people pretty much have said, first-term abortions, they want them to be legal. Late-term abortions, they don't want them to be legal. I happen to disagree with that, but I'm willing to live in a society that has a different point of view.
Me too. This is what I'm not stupid, bro. I understand that. I absolutely think that Roe v. Wade has or was a good compromise. But that's what it was. It was a compromise. You are never going to outlaw abortion. Where in the same way you're not going to get people to believe in God, you're not going to get people to accept that abortion should be illegal. That is a losing fight. And so we had a good compromise. First trimester. All right. Like, it's still murder, but at least, there's some parameters. Now, you can just go buck wild. I told you guys about the doctor that uses pregnancy itself as a life-threatening disorder or life-threatening whatever he calls it. And so just by virtue of being pregnant, you are eligible for life of the mother exceptions. Semantic obfuscation. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the right decision in the sense that it absolutely should be the states because it's not in the Constitution. That's how it should be. So that was the wrong decision. But I do think it was a good compromise. So I think given the wrong decision that the Supreme Court is ruling over this, knowing that if we go back and leave it to the states, then you're going to have half the states with no abortion and the other half of the states with 9-month abortions, then we should have left good enough, well enough alone. Well enough alone. We should have left well enough alone.
That I have on this issue.
Can you have a real democracy if you're taking away people's power?
I mean, my parents are shorter than me too. I mean, like, I do sometimes. All right, it's an insecurity. All right, can we just leave it alone?
What choice? If you're taking away people's power to choose and not giving them any options.
Well, if you consider it to be a crime that
you can choose to keep your pants on.
Abortion is a sin. In my opinion, you're not taking people's right to choose. You're making a moral statement about what's right and what's wrong.
I mean, there's a lot of sins, though. Sex before marriage is a sin. I'm sure you did some of that.
As for the sins of my past, either the Lord has forgiven me or the statute of limitations have run out. I'm making a joke about that. A lot of people, of course, make mistakes. Yeah. Yes.
That doesn't make them not mistakes. Just because mistakes are made doesn't mean we don't consider them mistakes anymore. Just because other people do bad things doesn't mean that we don't try to stop bad things anymore.
Okay. And I think that people should deal with the consequences of their actions. And if you let people know their consequences to their actions, it will inform their actions and make them behave more responsibly. Anytime you allow bad behavior to continue, you're going to get more bad behavior, whether that's...
So how does that apply to President Trump then? Because you said that was a two-tier system that...
Because I don't...
Decent question. I
don't believe Donald Trump.
You don't think he did anything?
I don't think he did anything wrong. No, I don't. I believe that he complained about the election the same way Hillary did. Hillary, for 4 years, referred to the 2016 election as having been stolen. Her word, not mine.
True. That's all very true. I think that, if we look into it a little bit more, which I boogie there. If we look into it more, which, honestly, I have not. And I should, but I think there is a little bit more there, but in terms of legality and were there crimes committed, I think based on what I've heard everybody say is that yes, it's undeniable that crimes were committed, but the level of crime does not anywhere close to rise to the level of something that we should upend the tradition that we have of having presidents be above the law. I don't think it's a good thing that we should have the presidents above the law. But you have to, the burden of proof is on you to say, why now? Why now? Even if you want to make the argument, you're right. We shouldn't be letting presidents go. So let's stop doing that. And from Trump on, we're going to, whatever. If you want to make that argument, but you're not making that argument. You're just saying, well, Trump bad. Orange man bad. A shout out to Unwanted Foe. The man calls for a puppy break. And so indeed, we have a puppy break. Yummy. Thank you. And of course, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Indie Filming got you by $1.
She called Donald Trump illegitimate, her word, not mine. Jay Johnson, who's Obama's DHS secretary, testified under oath that not a single vote tally was changed by the Russians. They tried, but they failed to change a single vote tally. 66% of Democrats believe the Russians changed vote tallies to get Donald Trump elected. Even though Jay Johnson testified under oath, not a single one was changed. That's the damage that people like Hillary and former President Jimmy Carter and Stacey Abrams and Hakeem Jeffries and others have said for years, referring to Donald Trump as illegitimate. A greater percentage of Democrats believe 2016 was stolen than we feel that way about 2020, but yet nobody calls them election deniers and nobody accuses them of undermining our republic. And they're not undermining our republic. They're complaining about an election. You have a right to do so.
Boom. Tell them, Larry. Tell them. Indie Film says Roe v. Wade was never constitutional. It is something that should be left up to the states, along with a million other things that the federal government seems to think they have jurisdiction over. Again, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that at all. What I'm saying directly to you, Indie Film, do you disagree with my position that despite the fact that this is the truth, that America, that the unborn children were better off with Roe v. Wade being the law of the land than they are right now? That's what I'm worried about. And I understand that. And if, at the time, I would have preferred that they didn't, make that ruling. I would have preferred that they did kick it back to the states originally, but they didn't. They didn't. Who was it? There's, I forget who it is. One of the early presidents, maybe even one of like the founding fathers. Tim all the time is talking about, how or maybe it was Nixon. I don't know. Somebody had the opportunity to deny the votes of Wisconsin, I think it was, for one party. And they said, no, we're going to do whatever. And comparing it to how this is playing out with Trump right now. The fact of the matter is that it's much more difficult to change something that is than to do something right in the first place. It's much easier to. It's much. I got that flip. It's much easier to do things right in the first place than to do it wrong and try to backpedal. So I agree with you. And the film says no, because under Roe v. Wade, the Democrats continue to push the bubble from safe and rare to standard birth control. But that's not, all right. I just disagree. More children, more unborn children will die now that Roe v. Wade is not the law of the land. That is, not a fact, but that's my position. It seems to me that more children at later dates or at later parts of their development will be killed because we don't have Roe v. Wade anymore, despite the fact that it was never constitutional. It is something that should have been left up to the states, along with a million other things that the federal government seems to think they have jurisdiction over. I'm not disagreeing with that. What I'm saying is more children who are further along in their development will die because we don't have that. And that's something that I think a lot of Republicans didn't think about, that because they were too dogmatic about the fact that, life begins at conception. I believe that too, but a lot of other people don't. Don't make perfect the enemy of good. Daniel says there are condoms, lube with spermicide, Plan B, and that's just what I can think of off the top of my head. And they make condoms for both men and women. Dental dam. Yeah, right? Nick says, if we keep watching this video, we're going to drive Lutch to drinking. What do you think is in here, bro? What do you think is in here? Yeah. What do you think? I'm just sipping coffee at 11 o'clock at night and cheersing with coffee? Come on, bro. Come on. I'm just waiting for that sponsorship. You'll see the can once they sponsor me. Martian Overlord said hindsight may be 2020, but if you're looking behind, you're gonna walk into a wall. Politicians forgot that. Exactly.
I know you probably got to go. Have you ever heard of the term nigga wake up call?
No.
Have y'all seen this? Put one in the chat if you have not seen this part. And everybody thank Unwanted Folk, because we were not going to make it this far.
It is an incident where a person of color forgets that they are of color and are reminded rather brutally by an unexpected act of racism. Have you ever had any of those?
brother.
So I want to run that back. In case anybody didn't really fully hear it.
Undermining our republic. And they're not undermining our republic. They're complaining about an election. You have a right to do so.
All right. Listen up. If you didn't already hear this, this went viral. And for a very good reason.
Come on, man.
I know you probably got to go. Have you ever heard of the term nigga wake up call?
An N-word wake up call.
No.
It is an incident where a person of color forgets that they are of color and are reminded rather brutally by an unexpected act of racism. Have you ever had any of those?
Brother.
I'm just asking. You think you've ever?
Well,
had
I'm acutely aware, Charlamagne, that
You ready? You ready? I'm just making sure. If you're doing something else, turn the volume up on your phone. Tell your boss you need a break for 30 seconds. Are you ready? All right.
I'm just asking. You think you've ever?
well,
had
I'm acutely aware, Charlamagne, that I'm a black person, just as you are a black person. And when Joe Biden insulted you by saying you ain't really black, we don't know whether or not you want to vote for me or vote for Donald Trump. It seems to me that should have been a wake-up call on your part. How dare this guy come in here and insult you, a black man, and tell you you got to think a certain kind of way? I'm amazed that you weren't mad about that.
Got him.
I'm not gonna say it upset me, just like I'm not letting you upset me. You know what I mean? I don't tend to get upset over things like
Well-
that. But what I did say,
But you're pushing back a lot on what he's saying. Where was the pushback? If you don't vote for me, if you don't know where to vote for me and Trump, then you ain't black. Is that not systemic racism?
Well, you
but
just not
it's not
talk about a nigger wake-up call, and it seemed to me that that should have been a wake-up call on your part to have a white guy come in here who also said, by the way, about Mitt Romney, because he didn't want to put more regulations on Wall Street, going to put y'all back in chains. And Joe Biden has lied for decades about his civil rights record, claiming that he desegregated movie
Yup.
theaters and restaurants in Wilmington, Delaware, when he didn't do any of that. He lied and said that he tried to visit Nelson Mandela during apartheid South Africa. He did not. And he came in here and told you you aren't even black unless you think a certain kind of way. It seems to me that should have been a nigga wake-up call for you, but it wasn't.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
for the record, I'm not a Democrat or Republican.
I didn't say you were.
Yeah, I think both.
I don't know
parties
what you
trash.
are. I never
Yeah.
even asked you about your party affiliation.
Yeah, I
I'm
think-
just saying, but you are black. And to have a white guy come in here and tell you you have to say, think a certain kind of way, otherwise you, quote, ain't black. Wow.
How should I have replied to him?
By saying fuck you, you don't determine who is black or not. What should I have said? Oh, there it is. There it is, the Breakfast Club. Shout out to Indie Film for the comment of the night. 2 times. First, we got Girl Boss. And now we got the Breakfast Club. Indie Film dropping the mic just like our boy Larry Elder. Oh my God.
What I just now said, how dare you insult me and tell me I think as a human being, let alone as a black person? I don't tell you how to think, Joe Biden. How dare you come in here and tell me how I should think? I'm going to vote for Donald Trump if I want to vote for Donald Trump. And if I want to vote for Donald Trump, it does not make me not black. 20% of black people, black men, as I said, voted for Donald Trump in 2020. Are they not black now? So only 80% of black people, black men walking around are really black, 20% are not because they voted for Donald Trump. How insulting is that? How condescending is that?
Well, I never thought about it that way because he said we help black people. So he must be good guy, right?
I mean, you're probably right, but I didn't take it in that way.
Well, I did.
As I said,
And so did everyone else in the fucking country. Charlamagne, you're the only person who didn't find that racist. They even when they do these street interviews where they're like, we have a bunch of racist quotes here. Who do you think they're from? And they read off a bunch, and everybody says Trump, 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 Trump. No, those were all Biden quotes. What was the Obama one? Is the first like mainstream, clean, articulate black. Excuse me, sir?
to him in that moment, you know, it's just about me wanting something from my people, and I want to know what is he going to do for my people. And
He's going to call you a well, you get it.
For my people now, how are you going to atone for the things you've done to my people?
Right.
That's it.
Right. And this is a guy, Joe
Continue
Biden,
to be
who, when he
racist.
first got
That's
into
how I'm
the
gonna
Senate,
help.
hung out with segregationists, talked about how well he got along with them, talked about how he didn't want integration because of a jungle. This guy has made all sorts of insulting things to black people, and his policies right now are hurting black people. Inflation hurts the people at the bottom more than anything else. Letting a bunch of illegal aliens into the border are hurting black people more than anybody else, as I said earlier. He's opposed to school choice when he has his own kids in private school. And we lost a year, almost 2 years of in-school education in California because of COVID that he supported. I mean,
and that has absolutely nothing to do with the social contagion of the transes. Nothing to do with it at all. Completely unrelated. Just in case you were wondering.
this guy has done monstrous things to black people, and then for him to come in here and tell you how you ought to think of the black person, it blew my mind.
As a person objectively who doesn't care about either party, when I just take a step back and I just look,
Well, it's not about whether you care about parties. Do you care about racism? You just spent an hour talking to this man about racism, and I noticed refrigerator box lady is very quiet right now. Where are you at? Where are you at, honey? Oh, you went back in the refrigerator, huh? The light turned off for you, huh? Shout out to Martian Overlord. You have a good one, buddy. Thank you for hanging out. Zig said, they schooling this man. Well, it ain't hard when you stupid as shit.
Bingo. Stupid.
I hate when I hit the wrong button.
what everything that's happening. I see one party that seems still committed to democracy.
Yeah. Why do you think that's the way that you see it?
Somewhat, and one party who's headed fast towards fascism.
Yeah. And again, same question. Why do you think it is that you see it that way?
That's just my personal opinion.
3 feet. Why do you think that's your opinion?
So who do you think I would vote for?
Well,
Who would you vote- who would you vote
let's
for
talk
next?
let's talk about fascism, since I assume you're talking about election denying. In 2000, when George W. Bush won the election over Al Gore, the Democrats, the first week of January 2001, tried to overturn the results in Florida. 2004, George W. Bush gets reelected. Democrats, including Benny Thompson, the chair of the January 6th committee, Jamie Raskin, a member of the January 6th committee, joined with 28 other House Democrats and Senator Barbara Boxer to overturn the results in Ohio.
I feel like he was about to say a different word after he said house. Did anybody else hear that?
With 28 other House Democrats and Senator Barbara Boxer to overturn the results in Ohio, claiming without any evidence that the Debo voting machine had been hacked. 2016, January 2017, Democrats challenged more states trying to get the election overturned that elected Donald Trump. Then Donald Trump challenged first week of January in 2021. Nobody accused them of undermining our republic. Nobody accused them of being fascists. They exercised whatever means they could to try to win the election. I want to remind you that Hillary Clinton advised Joe Biden during the 2020 election
to not peacefully transfer the power.
If it is a close election, quote, do not concede under any circumstances, close quote. Donald Trump used.
Why don't you know this? Why are you in the position of interviewing presidential candidates and you don't know this? I'm not expecting you to know everything, but let me get a shot. You're just wasting everybody's fucking time. Thankfully for me, I'm making this into something. What the fuck are you doing but sitting around acting like a fucking moron in front of presidential candidates?
Whatever legal means he could, advancing some novel legal theories to try to stay in office, and he failed. But I don't blame him for trying.
Yeah, but it's not just election denying. It's the disdain of women in fear of non-standard gender identities and sexual orientation.
Disdain
it's
for
the
women.
Galvanizing of popular rage against cultural elites. It's nationalism based on dominant, superior race and historic bloodlines. Like, there's a lot.
Okay, let's count the talking points. Let's count the talking points.
But I don't blame him for trying.
Yeah, but it's not just election denying. It's the disdain of women in fear of non-standard gender identities and sexual orientation.
Disdain
it's
for
the
women.
galvanizing of popular rage against cultural elites. It's nationalism based on dominant.
Wait, the rage against cultural elites? I thought you were the black people who were talking about the system. What are we doing here? Did I miss hear and read what he just said?
It's the galvanizing of popular rage against cultural elites. It's
galvanizing of popular rage against cultural elites. What the fuck are you doing right now? Systemic. How is that not galvanizing of popular rage against cultural elites? Please explain that to me. Because I am way too dumb to understand how that is any different. Insane. Obviously not. Exposed indeed. Dan says, just me, or does Charlamagne's list make him sound kind of like a snake? It's more just his overall mentality for me. Any Film says, dude, is he reading that list off his monitor? No, dude. This is what they think about all the fucking time. All the fucking time. He doesn't need a list because he runs through this list every single day with every single interaction with every single person that he has. Oh, somebody was mean. They must be a Trump supporter. Remember Trump galvanizing popular rage against the cultural elites and not accepting women? And like, why don't you shut the fuck up and listen a little more. And then you won't sound so dumb. Novel idea, but give it a shot.
It's nationalism based on dominant,
Wow.
superior race and historic bloodlines. Like there's a lot of things that Republicans are doing.
Well, what about
That leads to more
Joe Biden going to Howard University as he did recently, giving a commencement speech, Charlamagne, and he said the number one threat to the homeland was white supremacy. Really? The
Well, the FBI said that.
Anti-Defamation
Another reason not to trust the fucking FBI.
League keeps track of how many people are killed by extremists, no matter the race of the extremists, every year. Last year there were 25. As I said, in 2020 there were 11,000 blacks who were murdered, almost all murdered by other people, not murdered by white extremists. It's a lie to say white extremists is a big problem in America. It's a lie. It's what Democrats do to get black people
Well,
angry.
The FBI said that.
It's what Democrats.
Exactly, Charlamagne. That is the point. The FBI is full of shit. This is the whole... Welcome to the conversation. We are 53 minutes and 47 seconds into a 1 hour and 6 minute and 16 second interview. Welcome to the conversation. The host of the biggest, arguably the biggest black show in existence. Welcome to the conversation. I'm not even touching that.
I got that from the FBI.
Fine. I don't agree with that. The number one threat to the homeland is a large number of people who are engaging in criminal activity. And what Democrats do is tell black people racism, racism, racism. They trot out David Duke or some other facsimile every 4 years to tell black people, vote for us because, after all, we're the party of racial justice, social justice, and equity. And these dastardly people over there, these Republicans, are the party of Jim Crow and slavery, even though it was the Democratic Party that was the party of Jim Crow and slavery.
So bingo.
Basically, it's just like, vote for us. Otherwise, you might be considered right wing.
Black people rock with the GOP then? Like, what are the reasons?
Economics. I had Tavis Smiley and Cornel West on my radio show once, Charlamagne. And I told Tavis and Cornel West that under Ronald Reagan, black adult unemployment fell faster than white adult unemployment.
Mm-hmm.
Black Hispanic unemployment fell faster than did white unemployment. Black teenage unemployment fell faster than did white teenage unemployment. Black businesses were created at a rate faster. Their revenues grew at a rate faster. And they both told me that I was wrong and that they would have the data on my desk by Monday. That was 15 years ago. I know the mail is slow, but it seems to me they should have given it to me by now. Again, Donald Trump presided over the best economy ever for black people, lowest unemployment. And it seems to me the number one reason that most people vote is because of the economy. We have...
It's the economy, stupid. Cook, Larry, cook. So you can see that when he has the avenue, he can cook. He can cook. But I don't know. I don't know how well he's going to do in terms of the greater population, much less the larger the party itself. I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed that you look good in front of him. That grill is sizzling. Yes, sir, it is. It says, and all white people are killed more by cops too. Yep. Take a guess. If you don't already know, which at this point you probably should have this number off the top of your head. But I think the last year they checked was 2019. Guess how many unarmed black people were killed by cops in 2019? I'm just gonna pull it up. How many unarmed? It's probably already there, right? Unarmed black police shootings. Okay, we're gonna do. Yeah, I want 2019 because that's before all the COVID stuff. But that gave me. Why did it change it? All right. So, no, number of people. The number of people. How many people? 50% is not a people. So, Daniel says 9. USA Today says, fact check. Police killed more unarmed black people than conservative activists claimed. So somebody said they are 13% of the population, but are killed by police at more than twice the rate of white Americans. Kirk's claim the police killed 8 Oh, okay. We're getting some spin here. We're getting some spin. So it was Daniel. You were close with 9, and with the word like, I'll take 8 is like 9. But let's see what they say. So I don't know who is this. Kirk. Oh, Charlie Kirk. Okay. So Charlie Kirk said 8 on black men in 2019, but Kirk cites the Post database, which includes only people shot by police, not killed. Oh, so it's less. He also cites a database that is incomplete. The number of unarmed black men fatally shot by police is likely higher than the Post count due to lack of comprehensive police records, which Kirk does not acknowledge. Okay, so then what's the number? Despite these issues, the Post database shows 13, not 8. Oh, guys, we were off by 5 whole people. 5 whole people. It was, and I was thinking 14, but 14, or excuse me, 13. 13 people in the entire year. But yeah, white supremacy and defund the police and all that stuff, right?
Have had 40-year historic high in inflation. We've had gas prices that are now about 40% more than what they were when Joe Biden came into office. And we have about 7 million illegal aliens in our country. And the bulk of the suffering because of these illegal aliens will be borne by black people living in the inner city. Those are 3 reasons alone not to vote for the Democratic Party and to vote for the Republican Party. And by the way, I'm not voting for a fishing buddy. It's not because I like
exactly. This is what I've been saying the whole time. When we're judging these politicians, we're not looking at, he said fishing buddy, but I would probably sooner say a drinking buddy. But like I've been saying, I'm not looking for a friend to invite over for dinner. I'm looking for a leader to lead the greatest and most influential nation on the planet.
Or like him personally, I'm voting for policies. And I don't really care whether or not his personality offends people and he does bad tweets. Maybe it might be better for our society if he were more polite. I don't know. I don't care. I'm not voting for a fishing buddy. I'm voting for somebody to keep taxes low, keep regulations low, to secure the borders and keep us out of unnecessary wars.
Would it be fun to have money in a fascist country, though? To be black and have money in a fascist country?
We just went over how your party is the fascist party.
Or to be anything other
well,
than
I don't agree. This is a fascist country. It's always better to have money than not to have money.
Based. I mean, you're like, because even so, the answer is still yes. Like, having more money in a fascist community is better than having less money in a fascist community. Tenard thinks he is in the elite. Yeah, is there any film that says more people killed in Chicago on an average weekend than in the whole year by police? And they say unarmed. So the difference that we're talking about with USA Today and Charlie Kirk and all that. Why is this doing what the whatever? Okay, we don't need this. The difference there, unarmed means I don't have anything, but I'm reaching for your gun. I don't have anything, but I'm trying to fight you. That's unarmed. Nick says, wow, it was double digits. I can't believe it. That's actually low. Yeah. I'm watching Fo says it's better to have more resources than less resources. Duh.
Stupid.
Exactly.
All right. Anything else, Tess?
Well, I just a simple question. Have the Republicans done anything?
God damn it. Hold on.
All right. Anything else, Tess?
Well, I just a simple question.
All right, let's just take a deep breath. All right, now we're ready.
The Republicans done anything that you disagree with? Just out of curiosity.
They spend too much.
Good question.
I think taxes are still too high.
Yep.
I think that there are a lot of Republicans that support things like minimum wages. And by the way, Milton Friedman, one of my favorite economists, said the minimum wage is perhaps the most anti-black law in the statute books, close quote. At one time, a black teenager was more likely to have a job than a white teenager until the minimum wage came along and kicked it up and up and up. So there are policies that the Republican Party supports, like minimum wage. Some of them do that I don't like. Also kinds of licensing, unnecessary licensing. I was at an Apple store a few years ago, and this black woman waited on me, and she was very sharp technically. I'm not very technically sharp. And I was very impressed. And I said, have you always been technically sharp? She goes, well, I'm not really. I'm just here because I want to earn enough money to get a license to cut hair. I said, black hair? She said, yes. I said, you don't know how to cut the black hair already? I have black barbers in my family. Everybody learned how to cut hair on their own. She said, well, in California, you have to have a license to get, you have to have a license to open up a shop to cut hair.
Good job, government. Doing Americans great once again.
I said, how much does it cost? She said, $5,000. I said, you need to get a $5,000 license to learn how to do something you already know how to do? What is that? So a lot of the rules and regulations. Okay, fair.
It's hard to get around them systems, no matter how hard you work.
But the system applies to both blacks and whites too. But fair enough, those systems ought to be struck down. So there are lots of things Republicans do that I don't.
Well, it's not just cutting hair. You know that. You know they have to train how to learn with diseases and to make sure your clippers are clean and make sure certain things that you have to follow certain protocols so that you can be a barber, so that you can make sure that the community's safe when you're doing these protocols.
So every other state in the country, it's a health hazard to get a haircut if you're black. Is that what you're saying? Because I feel like there's what is this word? Apprenticeship, something along the lines of people who know what the fuck they're doing tell the people who don't know what the fuck they're doing what the fuck to do, so they know what the fuck they're doing.
Well, if there weren't government protocols, there'd be other protocols. For example, there's something called the Consumer Reports. That's not government, and it comes out and it talks about cars and what cars are good, cars are safe. If government didn't do these kinds of things, entrepreneurs would step in and they would have licensing. So there'd be a little sticker on the window when you go to a barbershop, and it would say, "I've been approved by so and so licensing board or organization."
Some of it's bullshit. 5,000 is too much, though. But
there are all sorts of things that.
So then, why are you arguing? Why are you arguing? Just to argue.
That we would do if the government was not doing them.
Do you have a black barber?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, okay. Just making sure.
Actually,
just making sure, because if you don't have a black barber, you ain't black.
I have a black barber for 25, 30 years. He got cancer, and now the person that owns the shop, who is Latina, cuts my hair.
Okay. I do want to.
Unwanted Fellow said, you can have the law for standards of practice without charging $5,000 for a license. It's California. Can they really? I don't know. Yeah, nobody wins. Nobody wins. And yeah, to address what you guys are saying, I completely agree with both of you. Actually, he's not bad, but he's not good either. He's doing, he's doing mid at best with the Breakfast Club. Like, put a 1 in the chat if you think that I could give a harder interview, a harder hitting interview with Larry than Charlamagne did. Put a 1. And genuinely, don't just kiss my ass. What do you think?
Ask me one final question. When do you think systemic racism ended? Since you said it don't exist anymore, when did it end?
I can't come up with a specific time, but Civil Rights Act, Civil Rights Act of 1964, Brown versus Board of Education, the Loving versus Virginia Act that struck down race mixing. You couldn't, for 13 states, you couldn't marry a white woman. Again, I think that when Barack Obama got elected, it was a big deal. When Obama got elected, this is really important.
Well said, Daniel, right here. The country entirely loses with a weak leader. Absolutely. You guys have faith. You guys have faith. Let's get Larry Elder on the channel. Nick says, I'm in California. If it makes sense, there's a law against it. 1, definitely 1. All right. Thank you for your faith in me, guys. Unwanted Fellow said, logically harder, but not nearly as emotionally damaging as this. Agreed. Yep. Agreed again. And that is the last thing that you want to do when you are running for president. Lackluster is not the word that you want. It doesn't matter that you said the things that we like. It doesn't matter. Ron DeSantis is already suffering from the exact same problem, and he was the front runner, aside from Trump, obviously. They snubbed you. You should have been on the stage, but you weren't on the stage. Who thinks we're going to do another show about Larry Elder? Probably not, though, right?
He got elected with a little more than 52% of the vote. He walks into the Oval Office the third week of January. He had a 70% approval. Now, how can that be? How can 15% all of a sudden support this man? It wasn't because they wanted capital gains taxes raised, which Obama promised to do. It wasn't because of Obamacare, which Obama promised to do. It's because many Americans said, at the very least, he'll stop the nonsense that America remains systemically racist. And for 8 years, in my humble opinion, he played race card after race card after race card.
Oops.
So when he entered the Oval Office, both blacks and whites thought
Absolutely
race
agree.
relations
Absolutely agree. Unwanted foes. That he seems like a decent guy, but not presidential. Absolutely. Absolutely.
would get better. When he left, both blacks and whites thought they got worse. Why? Because he did things like the Cambridge police acted stupidly when they didn't. If I had a son, he looked like Trayvon. When what happened to Trayvon had nothing to do with his race. He embraced Black Lives Matter. He invited Al Sharpton in the White House over 70 times.
Let's not forget. Let's not forget. I won't let you forget when Al Sharpton recently said, can you imagine if Thomas Jefferson tried to overthrow the government?
Stupid.
Yup.
He said that racism is in America's DNA. He said all sorts of things so that when he left, both blacks and whites thought race relations got worse.
Right, but sir, this is where and we can just agree to disagree because you're mixing race relations and voters, what voters decided to do, who might just be very good people that decided to elect a black man.
Yeah, and the race relations and the president and the first black president, completely unrelated.
Confusing with institutional system racism. And those are just two totally different things. And
okay, then what is it? What is the thing that you're trying to get to? What is the systemic racism?
it's okay if we just agree to disagree. We're
I think the captions are getting it wrong. I think she's stupid enough. I got to hear it again, but
good peeping race.
Right,
but sir, this is where and we can just agree to disagree.
Y'all hear it?
Because you're mixing race relations and voters, what voters decided to do, who might just be very good people that decided to elect a black man, confusing with institutional system racism. And those are just two totally different things. And it's okay if we just agree to disagree.
I think she's saying we can disagree to disagree. You heard it too? I mean, that too, but listen to it again. Indy heard it.
System racism. And those are just two totally different things.
Turn the caption on.
And it's okay if we just agree to disagree. System racism. And those are just two totally different things. And it's okay if we just agree to disagree. I'm talking about structures, not what voters did or, voters wanted to see better race relations. We're talking about structures, the same structures that you referenced several times that have also spited you. So that's
Joe Biden, for example, when Georgia reformed its law, said it was worse than Jim Crow. It's Jim Ego. More blacks voted in Georgia than ever before. The percentage of blacks increased. If the structure, how is it that the structure did not stop black people from voting in Georgia?
Well, I'm not talking.
That's what I was saying.
About voting, sir. I'm talking about, and just to be fair, I think Joe Biden and what Joe Biden has did to African Americans, particularly with the war on drugs, was one of the worst things that actually happened to black people. Just to put that on the record, he too was a part of that system that I'm talking about. Democrats as well. I just try to stay balanced to say that same system applies on both sides. Democrats and Republicans helped with mass incarceration. Joe Biden wrote it. So we have no problem. I have no problem condemning him as a Democrat for what he's done. I'm just talking about institutions versus relations are just two totally different things. And that's just where we, just disagree with that. And that's okay.
Well, we didn't really get into mass incarceration, but most people who are behind bars because they committed a violent crime against somebody else. And often the black people who are behind bars committed a violent crime against another black person.
Well, when I'm talking about mass incarceration, I'm not talking about violent crimes. I'm talking about non-violent crimes, particularly the war on drugs. I was very clear in what I said.
I agree with you that I believe that the drug problem should be dealt with as a health problem rather than a criminal justice problem. But most people are not behind bars for using drugs or for dealing drugs. They're behind bars for having committed a violent act against another person.
Sure, but that wasn't what I was talking about. I was very clear when I.
No, yeah, that exactly is what you're talking about.
Talked about Joe Biden writing the crime bill and mass incarceration with war on drugs to non-violent offenders. So that's a different conversation. You're weaving the two together. So we just.
The last one. I don't even have anything but water here, but projection juice it is.
Just have a disagreement on institutions versus.
Well, in order for you to go to jail, you have to commit
As my dad always says, Papa Lutch said, you can't be wrong and strong. And I'm glad that stuck with me because I do not want to look like her.
The crime. If you walk down the street,
Not always when you're black in America.
I've been arrested 3 times and only one was legit. So it happens. It's not about being black. Any Film says the whole Jim Eagle comment was actually saying the opposite of what he thought it meant. He says it makes Jim Crow look like Jim Eagle. So he's saying Jim Crow looks bigger and better. Are you asking or are you saying? Because I would say like a crow and an eagle. Clearly, the eagle is the bigger, more dominant thing. So that's how I interpret it. But I don't know the original quote, and I don't know if you're asking or if you're correcting me. Projected Juice going to be official merch. There we go. Indie Film.
Class action lawsuits, Charlamagne. We have all these black lawyers. Many black people have gone to law school. Where are the class action lawsuits claiming that a bunch of people are behind bars illegally, wrongfully? Where are they?
So you think everybody that's behind
I didn't
bars
say
is
that.
behind bars?
I didn't say that.
That's not what he asked.
But you answered my question. Where are the class action
There
lawsuits?
you go, Larry.
Oh, you got need money to do class
You've
action lawsuits.
had a
No, you
had a
don't.
black attorney general, Eric Holder. You had back-to-back black attorneys general, Eric Holder and then Loretta Lynch. Why didn't they release a whole bunch of people who are illegally behind bars? Why didn't they do that? You had a black president.
And I criticize them as well. Went on record.
Okay, but that's good for you for criticizing them. Did you do anything beyond criticizing them, whining and bitching, or to use your words, mooning and groaning? Probably not.
Because actually, you're right. He lied and said that he was going to fix the crack cocaine disparity. So I went on record. You're right. And guess what? Guess who he works for? The system. So he's just a blackface that works for the system at the time. So
this is such a convenient thing. Like everything, it's like the Illuminati. All right, you go fucking the Matrix. Andrew Tate. Everything is it's the Matrix. It's the Matrix. It's the Matrix. Oh, the Matrix. It's a system. It's the system. Like this is not an argument. This is not how intelligent people have conversations. This is not how intelligent people engage in these issues. Like, that's the point. The system is all of us. It says, don't they run the jail system? Who's they? Yeah, everybody does. She's on a fucking syndicated network. She's on a syndicated network right now. And even says I criticized them in 2015 and went on record and on TikTok. And my 3 followers liked my post. Oh, QAnon runs the jail system? What? She hard and then says
so again, we just disagree on systems and institutions versus black faces in high places.
Well, the disparity has been.
Ooh, black faces in high places. Now we know we go about that because it rhymes, right?
Has been rectified. Now you go to jail for dealing powder as you do for dealing crack. And at one time there was a disparity.
No, you go to jail, but the ratio is not the same.
Was the ratio of people using the same? Was the ratio of the people who were in areas that violent crime was happening and therefore were able to be where the police were targeted to go? Didn't think so.
Well, because the dealers are not the same. For example, there are more white people behind bars for drunk driving than there are black people. There are certain categories of crime that whites commit.
Mr. Elder, you're
Depends on the drug.
What do I always say? What do I always tell you guys? If you're talking to somebody, we were just talking about this last night in Discord. If you cannot, or if you're talking to someone who cannot engage with hypotheticals, they do not understand analogies, and I forget what the third one was, but just the inability to talk about exactly what is in front of your face. How do you not see that what he's saying is directly related to what you are saying? And he says, this chick looks like a Rachel Dolezal just got from a month-long chick from Jamaica.
More whites are behind bars for meth than blacks
You're just
are.
going all over the place, sir. We were talking about, it's very clear.
You said drugs. It depends on the category of drug. It depends on the category of drug.
Is alcohol not a drug? Is meth not a drug? No, only crack. We can only talk about crack because that's the only thing that it works for me. It's crack. If it ain't crack, then it ain't crack. You know what I mean? Zig said she's being like Bill Maher was with Vivek. I mean, I'm not even going to do that to my boy Bill. Like, Bill got that TDS, but this is something different.
More whites are involved in meth
Right,
than
but
blacks.
I gave you the category that I wanted to talk about, and you start talking about
Crack
drinking. You're just all over the
cocaine.
place, Mr. Elder, but it's okay.
Saying the quiet part out loud. I want to talk about the thing that makes me look good. And you're trying to have that exact same conversation in a slightly different way that doesn't stand up to my point. Why are you doing that?
More blacks are
Okay.
involved in crack cocaine. More whites are involved in powder. More whites are involved in meth than blacks. Depends on the category of the drug you're talking
Right,
about.
and I was talking about a very clear category, and I gave you, I told you where I just criticized the black man who was in charge, and you skipped over that and went right to talking about drunk driving.
Larry,
So again, sir, I have no problem with criticizing black Democrats.
You sure? You sure you're sure? You sure you're sure? Okay.
We do that. Charlamagne does that all the time. It's just the imbalance of understanding that even black faces in high places, even including yours and Democrats, Republicans, just being fair across the board. That's all.
Well,
cocaine do you think it
that
was
to
in
me,
the
that
White
to me,
House,
that to
Larry?
me, basically is no different than what Joe Biden just did with Charlamagne, which is to tell me as a black person I got to think a certain kind of way, otherwise I'm not
And I
black.
didn't like that either.
Well, you just did
I
it.
didn't like that either.
You just did
I
it.
didn't
You
like
call me
that
a black face as if I'm supposed to think a certain kind of way.
No,
You
I
just
said
did.
blackface. I
Yep.
said blackface in high places. I said they're everywhere. You're a blackface. You're in a high place. You're running for president of the United States. That's a high place. You are a
That's true.
blackface, correct? I said so. There's blackface in high places on both sides. So it's just about being fair for me on both sides. I've mentioned
I agree.
3 or 4
I
Democrats.
agree with that. I agree with that.
Yeah, I mentioned several Democrats that I have a problem with. Several, including Joe Biden. So you don't have to sell.
Oh, she has a problem with politicians. Oh, wow. Again, what did you do besides moan and groan about it?
us on that. We get that. I'm just saying it also
I can smell this video. It's not just her attitude.
happens on the Republican side. That's all. And black conservatives agree with a lot of your messages, Mr. Elder, but when you're not balanced across the board,
A lot of conservatives, period, agree with his message. Because we don't think about life through everything has to be color, this, and we can only talk about crack. If you're talking about other drugs, then you're talking about something completely different. We're talking about black people, black. Then okay, then stay in your little fucking corner and talk about black people and how oppressed you are and whatever, and just have the same fucking conversation for the next 50 years. Go ahead. But out here, we're trying to fucking do shit. We're trying to build a society. When you're ready for that, come on out of your cave. Come on out of your refrigerator box.
it just kind of lands flat. That's all.
cocaine
Andy
using
Phil
was the
said, she makes me. Oh man. That's 3 comments of the night, man. You are the winner.
Yeah, since we're talking about drugs.
I have no idea. All I know is that it seems to me it's to be scary that that Secret Service has closed the investigation without identifying a suspect. What other kind of stuff goes in and out of the White House without anybody knowing about it? But I have no idea. I just think it's bizarre that the investigation all of a sudden got closed that fast.
And you think criminal charges should be brought against President Biden, right?
I think there certainly should be an investigation about the pay-for-play stuff that we're hearing. The IRS whistleblowers are saying that they were told to stand down in their investigation.
But here's the thing, Charlie. I'm totally fine with just accepting, look, the government is corrupt. They fuck around and do whatever the fuck they want. But he won, so he's the president. Let's just work on the fuckery so that this time Trump wins. I'm cool with that. Or if you want to arrest Trump, let's arrest Biden too. I thought you wanted to be fair. You don't want to be fair. You just want to win.
I think there's a double standard going on, as I said earlier. For example, Donald Trump has been indicted for document possession. There is a special counsel investigating Joe Biden for document possession. But his defenders are saying, well, Joe Biden, unlike Donald Trump, turned over the documents readily when they were found out to have them.
I don't think so.
And if that's the case, why is the investigation still taking so long?
Tell them how they can support your campaign.
LarryElder.com. I need $1 from 40,000 individuals, even if you want somebody else. Talk about some of the issues that Charlamagne and I have been talking about for the last several minutes. I can get them front and center. So, Larry.
Oof. Until the GOP said, fuck you. So, I mean, again, I don't know that we are going to come back to Larry Elder. I don't know that he's going to be going any further. If he does, we absolutely will. But this is why I want to know where should we have our attention? And, we'll put Larry Elder on the back burner because he didn't do terribly. But for such a low bar, He really didn't. He should have shined. He should have shined. He should have been able to shut everybody down. I mean, and he just didn't do it. He just didn't do it. And said, shit, that's a super good point. I can't engage. Spit your socials and leave. Pretty much. And indeed, Indie Film is on a roll tonight. Let's say thank you for the $5 super chat from Indie Film. And of course, the sponsor of the stream, Unwanted Foes. Thank you, both of you guys so much. And a big thank you to everybody else as well. You guys know that, obviously, unfortunately, the world is what it is, and I need money to live. That's just what it is. And unfortunately, YouTube hates me, so everything gets demonetized. And so I have to rely on you guys. And I hate it because I want to just have the relationship where we can just come and hang out. But unfortunately, that's not what the world is. And so when you guys can continue not only to support me, but show me that you like what I'm doing, that you find value in this, that fills me up. I mean, I can't express. And thank you to you, brother. Thank you to you. Indie Film has been with me since day one, since before day one, if we're gonna be honest. It's a pleasure having you guys here. It's a pleasure hanging out with you. Before I was even monetized, you guys, those of you who were here, it's not about the money. I want to do this full time because I think I can make a change. I really do. I've so far gotten in front of Peter Boghossian. He hasn't really knocked down my ideas. We had some slight disagreements. Got in front of Tim. He kind of shut me down, but it wasn't a real conversation. And I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to have my same ideas go into all the people. And when they say this part doesn't work, okay. Tim told me that American identity that I talk about, it's not enough. You need a mission. The right has believe in God, and the left has whatever they have. I don't accept that, but I've certainly been thinking about it nonstop. So maybe we do need a mission. Maybe I need to determine what that mission is. But whatever it needs to happen, I will continue doing it as long as I can. As long as you guys are there with me. As long as you guys have my back, we can fix this country. And have a good ass time while doing it. Am I right? Thank you again, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Once again, I have been your host, Lutch. This has been my co-host, Morty. Once again, here. I messed up my outro. Come on, Morty. This is Morty, and I have been your host, Lutch, a.k.a. the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, guys, thank you so much. YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Kick, Twitter, wherever you're watching. Thank you. Until next time, we are out of here. Peace.